Alright, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever suits you best, and welcome. Today I'll be playing Phantasy Star 4 any no menu glitch, meaning by that we will not abuse one of the most famous glitches that are available through this game. We will play the game as best as we can, and we hope to be able to finish that game. So hopefully you will be able to enjoy a very nice piece of Genesis RPG. I will be accompanied with Dinuitary, who was one of the best runners of this game and a very intelligent fellow. If you're around, allow yourself to be introduced.
I'm Dinuitary. I'm a runner of this game and longtime head basher. This game just has this. I love this run. This run does have a very good way of just getting under your skin.
Yep. Alright, so most of the time I'll be playing, Dine will handle the comment, and sometimes he may throw a question at me. I will take the time to read chat every once in a while, but otherwise, let's start this. Alright, just finishing putting some stuff here, so let's start this in 3, 2, 1, go. Jazz, we have work to do.
I got the screen set up. So here we're introduced to two of the main characters for the first little bit. We have Chaz, who is a kind of like a hunter professional, and Alice, which is a hunting master. So they both work for a guild that basically goes around and says like, hey, I found this giant unicorn in my basement, can you get rid of it? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So this is the last game in a like 3.5 game series. For anyone that's really knows like Phantasy Star, like 1, 2, and 4 create a very cohesive story, and Phantasy Star 3 is just kind of like, hey, we made the game, but it's got the title, but it has nothing to do with it, so let's just run with it. But this game does do a very good job of tying all the games together. There's references from all 3 previous games. Unfortunately, this did come out late into the Sega Genesis life. Not playing really any of these games casually, just I never knew the Genesis was existed as a kid. Phantasy Star 4 is still aged very well. 1 and 2 are very grindy. 1 is a dungeon crawler type. But they did a lot of really nice upgrades with Phantasy Star 4. Movement's a little faster. Battles are interesting. We'll touch into a little more about that just as the run goes on. So here we kind of meet with the head of the school, and he's like, hey, can you help us out? There's a monster in the basement. We're like, well, how'd a monster get in the basement? He's like, can you just like shut up and get rid of it? We're like, okay. So here we meet our third character, Han. He's a assistant to the schoolmaster. He's like, I want to see what's down in that basement, but I'm kind of scared. So Alice is like, all right, 300 meseta. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, if you're going to pay us, then you might, like, we'll be your bodyguards. So sadly, we don't actually get this money, but we will get some money later on from them.
You sure about that? I'm pretty sure that we get every bit of Han's money, but I can be wrong.
I'm just going what I've heard off of other marathon runs. I never check.
Hey,
just like, all right, we got the money, let's go. So generally on the walk to this first area, you're hoping for 0 encounters, obviously, in a speed run. Getting 2, I'd say, is probably about average. Getting 3 is a little bad luck. So here we have our first boss, Iganova. Vortex is a extremely powerful single target.
Yes.
And we did get lucky there. Nice runaway.
Yeah.
So while Iggy is wiggling his tentacles around, the no run flag is active. So Chaz's Earth can cause paralyze, and if that paralyze persists into the next turn, we can just run away. So it's 50-50 into a 50-50 again.
Yep.
Yes, we are down a little bit of experience, but we'll have much better ways of getting experience in about 10-12 minutes.
Yeah,
and skipping that runaway is about like a good 30-second time save.
Exactly.
Because he throws out little ads. So Alice, Vortex, Iggy, Chad kills the ads. Han just kind of sits there after Vision. Vision will increase your dexterity, which just really helps your hit rate and minorly your crit rate. In the Japanese version of this game, dexterity boosts the whole party's dexterity by Han's dexterity plus some number I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So it can actually cause your party member just to crit quite a bit if you're playing the Japanese version.
All right, so at that point in the game, we learn that Professor Holt, which is the superior of Han, was missing, and he's probably in Bird Valley, which is a place in the northeast. So let's go there.
So here we're just going to be entering and exiting a couple of places along the way. This is to make the places known for if we're going to use a teleport ability, because we will be coming back to all these points at some time eventually. So it's just easier to hit it kind of like when you're along the way. So here we're coming into the cave. And what you're going to find out is a lot of the research team has been petrified. But thankfully Alice, the shining star, is like, hey, I've heard about this potion called the Ash Line, which is supposed to get rid of anyone under a petrification ability. So she's like, hey, let's go look for that. I heard it's somewhere in the south. These comic strip type cutscenes I really like. I think they convey like what's going on in the scene a lot more than just having random text boxes, and a lot of the characters' facial expressions really make the moment.
Yeah, and I do think that's a huge part of keeping the game still alive, if I may, to these days. Ooh, no encounter
nice
will
walk.
have a sub 7 room. That's neat.
So here we meet up with Big Daddy Rune. He's going to be a very large carry for a very small segment of the game. So we were talking about earlier about how we're going to need some experience, but we just don't have any means to kill the enemies quickly. Rune is an extremely overpowered, let's call him a black mage at this point. Like, Alice is 7, Chaz is 1, Rune is 17. So this is one of the more favorite parts of the game that I really started to like, is the macro system. So cutscene or turn orders in this game, to say they're variable is kind of scraping the surface. They're all over the place. So what macros do is they guarantee your turn order. So if you have a really fast character acting last, whoever is first in the macro is subjugated to their speed roll versus the enemy, and then it kind of just goes from there. There we took a couple of items off Rune. The white mantle, the wood cape is something we'll be toting around for a little bit. The white mantle we're just going to be selling for money. So in this one macro we made, it's Rune Gra and then everyone else attack. Well, you can see here, Rune takes care of these enemies pretty handily, and for like an any percent PB attempt, we would be looking for 2 to 4 encounters with the lizards, preferably 3 or more, just because they end up giving the best experience. Rex is kind of getting a little boned here. These slugs don't give a lot of experience. They do give a good chunk of money, which is nice because we will need a good stash of it for the next shopping segment.
Wow. Oh, bye, Chaz.
That's a little unfortunate.
We'll have to take the inn somewhere. Do we? Nah, not really. This is fine.
So, since this is a marathon run, we will be grinding quite a bit more experience than you would do in an any percent run. Now, it doesn't make the run 100% safe. You could gain, over an any percent run, you could gain 12 levels and still risk dying to the last boss.
Oh yeah.
But there comes a point where it's like, all right, how many levels is enough? Because in a marathon run, you do close to about 35 minutes of grinding, which I know everyone's like, ugh, not in my speed running, but it really does make some of the scarier boss fights a little less scary.
Yep.
And you do end up with a lot more resources, because in a serious any percent attempt, we don't go in with a lot of stuff. It's very much getting to that point of just hoping for RNG to line up more than losing those extra couple of minutes for a couple of extra curative items or a revive item.
Far from being the perfect rhyme, but I'll take it.
A full slime walk. You hate to see it.
Yeah.
So welcome to the dog song. So there's 3 shops here. We'll be buying some escapipes, which is basically a teleport out of dungeon if you can. Telepipe, which is a teleport ability that we can go to any town we visited. Monomates are a very weak heal item. They heal for about 30 to 40 HP. And these are Motavians. These are kind of like if a Jawa and an Ewok kind of made a baby, that's what these would be. So here we're talking to the Elder to find out how to get to the Ash Line, and somehow, in the good old humor, you have to guess Alice's measurements. And then Rune's like, "Oh, you." So here we end up losing Big Daddy Rune for a little bit, which really slowed things down. So now we're back to running away from every encounter. And we get Grizz. Grizz. A lot of people have different pronunciations for him. He is very much like a tank. Just really high defense. Does some good physical damage, but might want to do a state to refresh.
That's a good idea, yeah.
So there is a bug you're going to run into with Phantasy Star 4 where when you level up, the game doesn't apply the stats you get on a level up. It only increases your HP and MP. But your defense, your attack, your magic defense, all stay at their previous level. So if you gain 7 or 8 levels and don't go into just click into state and back out of it, or if you don't go into like a status window, you might have a level 15 Chaz, but if you haven't stated him since he was level 8, he still internally in the game has level 8 stats. Which is where I know a lot of people are playing it for the first time are just like, my guys just aren't getting stronger, and it's like, just hit the state. And it just makes everything so much easier. So during the run, you'll see Rex kind of doing this every level or two, just to make sure we get that little bit extra attack, a little bit extra magic, a little bit extra magic defense. Speed is definitely the big thing. It's like most RPGs, speed is absolutely king. I have music now. So here we got the ash line. We've saved the village. They're resurrecting statues in our name. Dr. Light somehow made his way over here from Mega Man. We're not gonna judge though. He's looking pretty buff.
If at least it will give us weapon like in Mega Man, that would be awesome. But Right, so the bioplant. That would be funny. I will have to pray that we can get out safely. I'll safety save before, of course.
So this is kind of just Iggy +2, except now we have 2 instant death, or 2 actual runaway abilities that both
Thank you,
missed.
game.
So Crash is a Earth type ability that has the potential to one-shot. Crash will always land if the enemy is paralyzed.
Look at that, I have a sword. Well, that's not true, but
So there's a bunch of different places you can do this defensive equip or shop. Some people will do it in Tonaway with the carbon shields. The graphite shields here are a little cheaper and they're a little weaker. So this shop is a little bit slower than what you would say is like quote-unquote optimal. But this next area coming up is a very big reset point. You're probably going to hear me say that a lot. A lot of them are not exaggerated. And the graphite shields and the titanium mail just offer Alice a lot more defense. So we slap her with 2 shields, the mail and the crown. So, just because running away from battles, it takes your highest speed character versus the highest speed of the enemy, and then it spits out some percent depending on like what frame you end up hitting run on. All of us that have run this game has had Alice die in a battle taking 1 or 2 HP damage at a time. Like you could get a bunch of preempts and run away first try no problem and life split loves you, or you can get into 12 encounters, 6 of them are ambushes, and it takes 15 turns to run. And then you're just like, well, I guess we're going back to the beginning. Getting some good walks, though.
yeah, that was an awesome room. So I'm pretty sure that I'll get bumped somewhere here. Ah, there we go.
Good night, Chaz.
Once again, this is fine. This is all taken into account. We will make an emergency stop by Nadia once we get out of here.
Yeah, this is something where you're always planning to take the in stop. More often than not, Han and Chaz are going to be dying. One thing I really like on the screen is if a character is at 0 HP, they're just 0 frames of movement. It's like pushing a cardboard cutout with your party.
So 17 minutes to recap on a marathon setup. That's actually not bad. If I did not spend my time grinding into the Valley Maze going to Munson, I do think that we would be on PB pace. That was a very good pace. Right, so here we are meeting 2 important characters. The first one being Rika. Rika is what I call the MVP of the run. She has very good healing techniques, very strong offensive skills. She's not only a DPS but probably the main healer of the run, so she's very helpful. And we'll meet Seed right here, who's responsible for the current outbreak of monster on Motavia, and he will take a drastic measure to try and stop it in a few minutes.
Rika is one of the few characters that were taken right to endgame. So here Seed is like, there's only one way I can stop this. Self-destruct.
Oh no, don't tell me he's doing that. No, Seed, he was my best friend.
It's okay, Rika got out.
Alright, so I'll be bypassing the setup because since we don't have a lot of XP on Chaz, it's not really worth it. Although I can still do this.
So whoever from spot 1 to 5, like leader down to the caboose, whoever is in slot 1 has the highest % chance of getting hit. So we're putting the weaker characters in the lower slots, just because we're really hoping to save those squishy party members. This game does have like double, triple, quadruple, and quintuple attacks. If you're just kind of like queuing up random abilities, you'll probably see them, but it does take a little bit of luck with how the turn order happens for them to pop out. So if we do like Han, Watt, Chaz, Sue, and Alice Boy, we get an ability called Tri-Blaster, which would wipe out these little tin cans in all one hit. Extremely fast animation, but it also just does depend on if Chaz was able to get a bunch of extra experience. Han dying here is not the worst. Chaz not being able to hit the broadside of a barn kind of hurts. And there's Sue, but unfortunately Han's now taking a nap. So here we're setting up some defensive macros, some offensive macros. And once again, the macro's real big key is it's solidifying the turn order. So for like Watt, Sue, and Foy, we're putting Han as the initiating character because he's the slowest one. So Alice and Chaz have a much higher speed stat, so you might get Foy and Sue out, and then an enemy will act, which will destroy your Tri-Blaster. So this is a completely optional dungeon. If you were to finish it to completion, there's a nice little cutscene where you end up finding about Parm, a planet that got blown up in Phantasy Star 2. We come here just because it's a very good experience boost. We do need some experience for the next area. And a lot of the equipment here is very nice. We're grabbing the ceramic sword for Chaz. We got the ceramic shield for Rika, which this ceramic shield has a lot of interesting properties. One, it reduces fire-based attacks by quite a bit. And two, if Rika equips a claw weapon with a shield, her claw now gets a fire elemental property, which is going to be a very large bonus damage increase for a couple of enemies and bosses coming up. So we're generally looking for Chaz and Rika to be about level 5 when we leave here. This will kind of set us up pretty nicely for the next dungeon.
Okay, fair. You want to fight? Oh, Chaz, come on.
Come on, buddy. Help us out.
Or not.
Alright, well, he's taking them hits pretty good. So the ceramic weapons also have a nice bonus of doing extra damage to mechanical enemies. So we will be finding a bunch of weapons hitting around here or there that will might not be the strongest of weapons, but will give a nice damage increase.
One hit point short. We're basically fighting the same kind of monsters that were into the wreckage. So that's why I took that fight. They are worth the same, and in terms of hit points and strength, they are practically the same.
So now we're back to Alice's hometown of Adeo. Thankfully, she has a house in the top left corner, which is a free in-stay. So we're coming here. We are going to buy a couple of new weapons. Rika is going to get a nice little increase. The ceramic knife, we... nope, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh, nice. I don't have to sell anything. There we go.
Just nice.
Well, if you're short on money, you can always sell the white mantle that you got, plus ceramic knife and a claw that you stripped from Rika. So that helps. But since we grind a lot and we got a lot of money there, it is not mandatory, it is not required to grind or to spend that much money here. Right.
The Sandworm side quest is an amazing chunk of experience you're really not going to find versus a time investment anywhere else.
All right, let's
so the Slug Cave, another just heavy reset point. So with these Zol slugs, if two of them are left alive and they get a turn, they'll transform into an even bigger slime. So there you're seeing Rika's damage.
Phantasy, be fast.
With the fire boosted claw. Riz going down isn't the worst. Getting him some extra experience is kind of nice, but...
Okay. Oh, come on!
Saner is going to be a very, very large carry. Saner will boost the party speed by the caster's speed. Alice doesn't have a lot of speed at the moment.
Wow. Game.
But when Rika ends up learning it later on, it will be a very large speed increase and a stability increase. So we're looking to get Chaz and Rika to level 8. Chaz can kind of skip away at level 7 because that's when he learns double cut.
Bye, hon.
Goodbye, Speards. Hello, old friend. So the first, you'll generally take 2 to 3 slimes depending on how your grind was for everywhere else.
Oh, come on. So that's bad, that's bad. Okay.
Oh.
Dang. This is fairly common. You don't want to see it, but
Yeah, this is one of those places in, like, ideally you get a 2-slug turn that potentially gets an ambush.
Seriously?
Because their first turn is an insta-merge, and then you can kind of just wipe the floor with Tri-Blaster and then have Grizz and Rika finish up. So to also say that damage rolls are quite variable is an understatement. So each attack at its base is very, very weak, and it gets rolled 8 times, and then those numbers get added together. So you can easily have, especially early game, damage swings of 20 and 30. Later game, a couple hundred.
Right, so 7 is 6. I should need maybe 2 or 3 metal slugs max, depending on if I survive, of course. Wow, game.
A lot of the early game in the run is just trying to find the best place to farm experience. And then later game, we have a lot more means of just getting it as we're going about in the dungeon.
Nice crit. Oh my.
He returned the favor.
Yeah. It was like, oh, you can do it, so can I. Not enough TP, that's fine. You have some.
You might want to stay.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. Okay, so
And maybe
nice.
cast. I don't know if Chaz knows para.
He's not supposed to have it, and since I have 1 TP, it's not really.
So paralyze will wear off after a certain amount of steps.
No.
Hello, Force Slug Ambush.
Okay, fine. State really changed things. Come on, good. Alice, be fast. Thank you. We'll get the cavalry out. So I need to.
Yeah, the macro system. I've never played this game casually, but watching people like Jacid, Big One Balls, Tyler the Driver, Darko RTA, Lady Starbird, like watching them run it, and the macro system to me was the big thing of getting me into the run. I love how much thought and planning went into it ahead of time. And just how it influences battles was also like really nice. Also just how the battles play out.
Oh, come on.
To me it's using the macro system is much better than using something like an auto battle.
Oh yes, I agree on that. Auto battle is need for fast grinding in a way, but the macro system gives you both agility and some bit of planning, so it's really neat. Oh, wrong destination. Nice. I could have walked. Ah, no matter.
So here is the Sandworm side quest we picked up.
Nope.
We're kind of going to be doing a little bit of rearranging. And this worm is a boss. It's got like 12,000 HP. Shift is an ability that will boost physical damage. So here what we're doing is boosting hit rate,
Good.
Hit rate, speed, and attack power. So there are a couple of ways. This boss is extremely weak to ice, so Hans Watt, and then if Alice end up getting Zon, you can do a dual attack for Blizzard. It'll deal about 130 damage. Some people also just go with Tri-Blaster because it's a much faster animation. So this is where kind of any percent routes can divide. There's the Chaz and Rika route, and then there's just the Rika route. So this fight is worth 16,000 experience. Now you can give it to Rika and Chaz for 8,000 each and have 2 decently leveled characters, or you can give it all to Rika and have 1 insanely leveled character. So a lot of the Phantasy Star fights do involve some internal counting, just because Rika by herself does not do a lot of damage to this boss. So if everyone's dead and you have 300-400 HP to go through, you're gonna be here a while. Thankfully, Rika is a pretty fast, pretty dodgy character.
Wow. We're getting a lot of damage.
The Wood Cane we also grabbed off of Rune will act as a very cheap free healing item in battle. And the Wood Cane, for that reason, is why we'll be holding on to it for quite a bit.
Alright.
So now that people are starting to go down, Chaz will start using his...
Damage is quite high, so I'm afraid that we might pass it. And I don't want Chaz to get as much. Come on, go in. Woohoo!
So now Rika is going to use the 2 charges of double slash. If she has 2 claws, she will attack with each claw twice, which will boost the damage even more. So something interesting from a experience route from this, Rika went from level 18 to level 17. But not only did Rika get that experience, every character that is not currently in our party also got that experience. So one of the big benefits of the solo Rika route is Rika got 16,000 experience, but more importantly, Rune also got that 16,000 experience. Now, if you were to do the Rika Chaz route, Chaz would get 8, Rika would get 8, and Rune would get 8, which isn't the biggest of deals, because then you got 2 moderately leveled characters, but the Rika only route, at least up until probably about an hour and a half into the speed run, is where things are kind of different, and then everything just kind of converges after that. So for the meantime, Rika is going to be our big carry.
Yes.
And the main character Chaz is kind of going to be left in the dust.
Eventually, Chaz will put that in quote, grow strong, but like I said earlier, and Dine put a lot of emphasis to it, Rika will be our main character for a long part in this game.
So there is a third route. It's called the Shadowblade route. If you happen to run into a Tech Master, which are mage-looking enemies, they have a 1 in 64 chance to drop a weapon called the Shadowblade. What the Shadowblade does is, it's not a good weapon by any means, but it reduces your magic by 10. So if you have a level 3 Chaz, for instance, and you haven't updated his stats and you give him the Shadowblade, he goes from having 5 magic, and then the stat underflows, so he ends up with 250 magic. So you have a very weak Chaz that just does absurd damage. Obviously, survivability is the issue. The big runner of the Shadowblade run was a Japanese runner naming himself Mormont. Mormont is a very big name in the Phantasy Star speedrunning community.
Yep.
He's done a lot of rerouting, ran a lot of the risky routes. So for like the Shadowblade route, Chaz would deal about 500 damage to Juza. And Juza's got 1500 HP. So 3 Sues from Chaz and this fight's over.
Nice crit. Ooh.
So this fight, because Rika has the ceramic shield, Juza's Foy isn't going to do any damage to her. We're kind of just going to spam macro A. Once Chaz is out of double cuts, he's going to use Sue, just because Juza's weak to light.
I'm taking extra precautions. Okay, fine.
So with Rika being such a high level, she does have more charges of double slash. She does have access to her own shift, and she has access to G-Res. Now, G-Res is a very strong single target heal. So you can see it's going to heal her up for about 100 HP. So a lot of this fight is, you're hoping your characters don't die too fast, because you do want to get some of their supplemental damage in. Just because you only have 6 charges of double slash. And then the rest of the fight just plays out where you can do double slash until you need to, and then just heal, and then attack to finish off.
Got it. Oh, that was quite a good fight. Right. So shield over the cyber. Yeah. So equip yourself with. Right, and we'll remove everything from Alice to make her faster, of course. Nothing suspicious going on.
Nothing's gonna weigh her down anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, we've got Demi. Everything is fine with the world.
Demi, so cute.
Yep. Bopping android. Hey, who's that guy? I mean, he's wearing black, he has an ominous aura, so chat, tell me, is he a bad guy? Is Leo a bad guy? I'm not sure. In my opinion, he's probably an emo, angsty teenager, but you do you. Oh, red eyes. I don't like it. I think we should run. Just for the gag, I will do macro A to show you what happens if you attack. 1. Uh-oh. We're in problem.
His magic barrier will have all physicals miss, and anything that does hit will only do 1 damage. But the battle's only flagged to go on for 4 turns. So just running away is the fastest way to get through it. And unfortunately, Alice is the one to suffer the hit from the dark wave.
Yeah. Not cool. We'll have to heal her.
Here we find out Han has a fiance, which, if anyone knew that was coming up, push 1 in chat, because that was kind of a surprise to me. I thought he just spent all of his time in dungeons.
Well, academics always do that.
So now, unfortunately, we lose Alice as a character, and depending on your outlooks of life, we also lose Han as a playable character. But we gain Demi, so everything is worth it. I love Demi's walking animations, just because it's so small, it's so cute. But it's like, yes, I know about this giant machine we can drive. And we're like, wait, what? They're like, yeah, we can go over the sand dunes, we can... It'll be no problem. And the vehicles are a very big movement speed increase. So of course, unnaturally, thank you, Demi, for joining the party. We're just going to instantly remove all your equipment. So androids, the way that androids buff spells work, especially Barrier, is very interesting. Barrier increases magic defense, but androids themselves don't have a magic defensive stat. So it pulls from their defensive stat. So the more defense you can give a android character, the more magic defense you can give everyone else through the barrier spell. Which is a very big, very large damage reduction.
Okay. Time-wise, we are pretty much on target, so that's good. Despite having missed the... not missed, but having reset once into the passageway, so that's interesting.
So here, now we're looking for a item called the Psycho Wand, which is supposed to be able to get rid of the dark energy from the Dark Blast. And Alice is like,
nice.
I think I know about this place somewhere. I've heard about it in a story. So here we're just popping into a couple places for teleport spots later on. You can do... the vehicle battles are actually quite interesting. You do have a lot of heavy hitting abilities, and the vehicle has its own HP. But you can take some vehicle encounters, but you get half experience from them. So sadly, you can't use the overpowered vehicles as a way to kind of power level. So because we do have limited inventory space, we are toting around a lot of characters' old equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where kind of like unequipping people in a certain way will just make shops a lot easier because the inventory will be the same. There is no form of like, you can't really change items around unless you have some very, very large foresight.
Ooh.
So that leather shield is something we're going to be holding on to for a extremely long time, just to help kind of manipulate the inventory layout. And here we buy a 2 Psy shields and a Psy crown. Psy crown will boost Rika's speed by a little bit, which will help her Saner ability. And Psy shields boost magic power, which I don't know who we've run into that has used a lot of magic, but whenever we run into them, it'll help them out.
Yeah. Well, in theory, we are to meet runes. I don't know if we'll meet. Oh, look at that!
Oh, Big Daddy Rune!
It's as if I knew what I was doing.
All right, back to having a full party.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Disrupt the
menus in this game are a very big pain to learn. There is something that happens, the community calls it plinking. So if you hit a directional and an A and the A button at the same time, it will double up the directional button. So sometimes when you're trying to run from a fight or use a combo, you'll go down to macro, but because you plinked, the game will put you down to run. And then you just basically give the boss a free turn. It's one of the big challenges about menuing fast. Someone like PP-chan, the current world record holder, you could tell he spent a lot of time with menus. Obviously A, because he's got world record, but B, they're fast and they're extremely accurate. The one nice thing about making macro menus is they're pretty much always going to be static unless you just grind it an absurd amount. So it's really finding that fine line between speed, but not too much speed where it hurts you. Which is often weird to say for like speed running menus.
There's a lot of menus in this game as well, so that helps and that hurts when you miss one. I do remember losing a few menu runs because I wanted to use a macro on a boss. Ended up trying to run away. What a good idea.
Best is when it happens on the final boss and you're like, please just be an empty turn, please.
He do possession on Bren. Yes! Or Megiddo. Whoopsie.
So here we picked up a couple of items. The Fragmental is another good just piece of defensive equipment for Rune. The Stardew is basically an item form of Geyser that can be thrown by anyone. It's a one-time use. And then we have the good old 1,000 Meseta chest, because we do need a little bit of money. So Guy Lasagna, this guy's got a pretty high crit rate. So for a lot of bosses going forward, it might seem like they crit abnormally high. That's just because the devs gave them a very high dexterity stat, so their attacks really wouldn't be missed.
Good.
But an unfortunate side effect is it also increases their crit rate.
Nearly roasted. Shame. Use that. D-ban, and you don't have cross-crop anymore too. We're still fine.
D-ban will increase the party's defense. So we have D-ban for physical, we have barrier for magic, Saner for speed, and then shift for a attack up. Which a lot of these buffs will be used in every boss fight just to help counteract our low levels and kind of crappy equipment.
I didn't mean.
So you can kind of thread the needle with Chaz. We do want Demi and Grizz to be dead at the end of this fight, because even though Rika and Ruin have pretty big boost. This guy's not worth a lot of experience, so it's not the biggest of deals at the end of the day, because even though Grizz has a 32% chance to get hit at the moment,
there we
sometimes
go.
he just doesn't get hit. You can see Rune and Rika dishing out 300 damage a turn. This guy's got 2,500 HP.
Just safety. In a regular run, I would probably have ignored that 64 is a great cash-in for Rune. But since we are in a marathon setup, let's not take any chances.
Yeah, Rune with the double size shields gets just so much physical defense, especially, which is nice because his HP pool is pretty low.
Sorry to interrupt you, something's happening. Uh-oh, I don't like it. F in chat for the passage of Alice. Story-wise, this is one of the first games where a major character actually died. So, I do remember when I was young, this had a very big impact on me. She's fine. G, I do appreciate your optimism.
Okay, Alice died. Chaz got closer to Rika. Hey, no one questioned when Aerith died in Final Fantasy VII, and everyone called her a main character. Alice dies under an hour into the speedrun, and everyone's like, she's not a main character. I was like, I will argue with all of you. She's a main character in her heart to the very end.
Yes. We can even meet her afterward, but that's for another time, alas. Right.
So we're back to the armor store. We do have a couple of extra items to sell. Rune's Force Cane is one of them. We do want a third size shield. They're just that good.
There we go.
Instead dying in FF6, you can argue because you can save them. But you never get to play as Sid. You get to see him in 2 places, and really that's it.
Yeah. Singer.
So here we're just setting up a couple more macros now that we got the party together. The Psycho Wand, when used as an item, will remove all the buffs the boss or enemy have casted on themselves. It's a very, very powerful, just debuffing ability. When's the last time you stated?
Let's do it.
So here we're on our way to confront the big baddie. Onwards and downwards. Here we're just going through Nervous. There are a couple of enemies you can take here for some very good experience. The Tarantellas, which is why we made the macro H with Hewin and Disrupt. Hewin is a tech, not an ability. So it doesn't interact with Rune's MP pool. Hewin is kind of like double slash and crosscut, where he can just use it a certain amount of time. So a lot of the dungeon routing going forward is to use non-MP abilities if possible to save all the MP abilities for the boss. Which is another like really nice routing idea, because a lot of times like he just won't deal a lot of damage compared to something like G-Watt.
Meh. Oh no. Right. So you just saw one of the main advantage of being an android in this game. Android cannot die. If they end up dying in a battle, they will not benefit from the XP, but once the battle is over, they will recover. And as we walk with the android, they will gain, I think it's 1 or 2 hit point per steps. So that's really helpful.
Yeah, androids pretty much in this game just take care of themselves outside of battles. And there's a rule that a lot of people run by is you can't get into encounter in under 10 steps. Which 10 steps is a lot of HP you're gonna regain anyways, but especially for Demi because she just has no armor on.
Oh, fine. I'll take it since we're down.
Quite the number of ambushes. Demi dying during these fights is kind of nice. Just any experience she gets is kind of just a wasted experience. So it is kind of annoying to like have her consistently die, especially when you're going through this amount of ambushes. But these little chunks, like this isn't great experience by any means, especially for a marathon run. This is amazing. Even for an any percent run, fighting a couple of these guys, even though it might not be quote unquote optimal, these little chunks of experience can have very big ripples going to the mid and the late game, because we are going to be looking to hit certain levels with people, and it really sucks when you're before a boss and Chaz needs 100 experience for a level, because he'll get like a tier 2 ability or a tier 3 ability.
Time to get vengeance. Let's do it.
So Zeo starts by buffing himself. We're going to use our good old macro A to remove the buff. And then a lot of this fight is just try to pump out as much damage with the party once again before they die.
Oh,
It's just...
that's fine.
It's not feasible to keep all the party members topped up, even though Zeo's got just short under 3,000 HP.
Okay.
Demi is for as long as she can will be the heal bot. Keeping Chaz alive as long as you can is nice, just because Zeo is weak against light spells, and Sue will deal a good chunk of damage. Goodbye.
Alright,
so now we're kind of in a spot where you can just switch between like macro C and macro B now that Rika's all buffed up. You do want to keep... You don't want Rika to drop below 95. Rune you can play a little more risky with
fine.
because of the double psi shields. And then one of the nice things about healing macros is they will pick the player with the lowest percentage HP, and this is where you kind of have to play with it a little bit, just because Rune has a much smaller HP pool than Rika, so this is just something you'll learn by just doing the run over and over. Sometimes you're like, all right, it'll target Rune, but since Rika has a much higher HP pool, her percentage might be lower, so it'll target her.
Wow.
And if Rune ends up dying in this fight, you're in a very, very sticky situation, just because, as you can see here, Rika's pretty much just on healing patrol, and Rune's just dishing out damage when she can.
Okay, fine.
So, and you don't want to spam too much G-Res. G-Res is a pretty expensive spell, and even though Rika is stacked with a lot of good spells, she just doesn't have the TP pool to like really back it up.
Oh, once again. Oh, that's fine. Survive this, thank you. At least it was not that attack. Hey, we're out of TP. Nice.
The crit stick.
Okay, so let's do that.
So now we do have, even though Rika's out of TP, we do have healing options. We have the Wood Cane, we do have the Dimates, a couple of Monomates if they're still kicking around.
Yeah, we're
But
not in a
Rika,
bad
like-
position right now. That will make the battle much slower, but otherwise Rune can carry this as long as we don't have to heal Rune.
Yeah, especially Rika, since Rika is below
That was
95 HP.
all right. So there it is. Fine. Use Monomate on Rune. Okay.
So now that we're out of TP, we are going to resort to the Hewins and Falafels.
All right, so he's out for blood. There we go.
Yeah, Jeffrey in chat is one of the longtime runners of the game. And yeah, you have to have a really unlucky fight for Rika to run out of TP quickly. A lot of times she can end up hanging in there to the very end.
Well, the fact is, Zio used a lot of Black Wave and a few physicals, so this is why I had to heal so often. The two cycles of Macro A did not have that much of an impact. Only slowed me down maybe, but otherwise it's an okay fight. It's not the last round was probably stressful because hit point was beginning to be low everywhere, so that could have been a problem, but we did it. That's what matters.
So now that we've thought we killed the big baddie, we find out there's a different big baddie. So now, where's the answer? To go to space. These spaceports are nice because they have the automatic helo pods. You just step on them, you get everything restored, people are revived, life is good. And we're going to Zealand to pick up another android character, which is going to be with us to the end. This place is also just... it hands you so much good stuff. There's 6 treasure chests here, 3 on the left, 3 on the right. A lot of them are very nice defensive, offensive upgrades, and also upgrades to our bank account. So we just lost little Demi, but we kind of... it's not really her bigger brother, but Rune has been the one that's been controlling the man-made station Zelen this whole time.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, we need help. And he's like, all right, sure, no problem. Let's go. Ren is much more of a offensive android, where Demi was much more of a defensive android.
Steel Eyes. I'm not sure about it, but it could be, because if you take the time to look into the status of Ren, he's currently 998 years old. So yeah, that could be. It's a possibility, but I'm not sure about that. Right, so Plasma Clot to you. Yeah, over. Okay. There we go. Side shield and the plasma field. Nope.
So we've taken away Chaz's abilities to attack. We no longer trust him. The giving him the Psi Shield gives him a little bit of a magic damage increase. The Plasma Field is there's a lot of like early game items we're going to be taking to end game. The plasma field reduces energy-based attacks by quite a bit. And it's just a stupidly overpowered shield. So unfortunately, we got a new spaceship. We just drove it off the lot, got 4 flat tires.
Uh-oh. Alright. Guess we'll fight in space then. Now the problem. So what happened is that the sabotage effectively destroyed our spaceship, and we'll have to crash land on the second planet of the Algo solar system, which is the Zolis. The Zolis is a barren place with a lot of snow. I like to call that place cutscene planet because there are so many cutscenes. It basically it nearly evens out with the amount of gameplay you have to do in this place, but it's a very important part of the story ongoing.
Yeah, this is where they start tying the story together.
Yep.
Quite extensively.
And we get to meet Raja, the true space pope of the galaxy.
He's basically Kami from Dragon Ball Z. Just a bunch of Namekians everywhere.
Yeah. So Raja is the archetype of a priest. He has very, very good healing techniques and skills. He has okay offense that will eventually drag on. But other than that, he does not have very great attack technique or skill. He still has the stain fire that could be used. But since at the end of the game, we do not require a specialist in healing, that's not the character that we will pick at the first occasion.
Raj is a very underrated support type character. He has a ability called Ataraxia, which will restore. It's the only ability in the game that will restore TP to characters. So he can make a couple of like very lengthy fights a lot easier. As also Rex said, he's a very good healing type character. Ataraxia, we do use it in the run. For casuals, I have seen it make like completely flip the table. Getting an extra 40, 120 TP in a fight does make things a lot easier. So even though he might be squishy, he does carry his weight in a lot of different ways.
Silver mantle, silver circlet. Next, everything is set. Oops.
So we go to the bar and we're like, "Hey, do you know of like a spaceship somewhere?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. There's one over to the west."
Yeah, well, this game is pretty. How can I say this? It makes you learn that every time you need to get information, getting to the place where information is gathered is a good idea. For example, grandfather Darren earlier, or the time the bar owner. Ouch. Sorry.
Street Fighter so good. Hello, Snow Slug. So we lost a spaceship, we got another spaceship. So now we're going to be going back to Motavia to do another hunting quest. This is the Fisher of Fear. This is just another... The Fractus just gives so much experience. And this will be the last hunter's quest we take in the run. Even if you were to do like a 100% run, which 100% is defined as doing like climate control, wreckage to completion, weather control, doing all the hunter's quests. There's only 4 or 5 of the hunter's quests that actually involve fighting. A lot of them are just like fetch quests.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, this little girl lost her dog, and you're like, I'll find Shortcake,
There's
But these are just pound for pound the best experience you're going to get for really time invested. Especially now that we have a full party, we are geared quite a bit more. We do have a couple of extra abilities under our belt. This Fractus is going to be going down quite quickly. It is kind of nice that we're handing in the Sandworm fight now for the money. I believe it's 5,000 Meseta. We won't be handing in this quest for the money. The money is just not worth the backtracking for.
She let her son play around the fissure and somehow he disappeared. Quite suspicious.
We really want Raj to live until at least the first round of the boss. Raj has his own version of D-Band. It's called Blessing. And just because Raj's natural magic stat is much higher than Rika's, it will offer a lot more of a defensive increase.
Here you will do what? You will feigner and defense.
If Raj happens to get outsped by the boss, you can use Rika's D-Band. You are going to take a little more damage.
Oh, sweet.
But at the end, it's kind of just whatever. So, interesting things about healing androids. There is one healing ability outside of the android's own recover that will restore HP, and that is a character we're going to get in the future is Medivh. So like Rez, G-Rez, Woodcanes, Monomate, and stuff like that will not heal Ren. So Ren's kind of just on his own at this point.
There we go. That second running away, by the way, was perfectly planned. We really want Raja to die early. Will you please? Okay, fine. Got him.
Obviously, the game planned for you to fight this much earlier on, but coming back here, it's a good like 4,500 experience for everyone. So we are going to switch off Ren's weapon. We're giving him the plasma rifle, which will attack every enemy on the screen when he does a physical attack. It's not the strongest weapon, but because it does damage multiple enemies, we will be carrying it to the end game. You can get some upgrades for him at a place later on for single target damage, or a little better multi-target, but for the most part, with all the other AoE from the other characters, Ren's physicals are kind of just there to finish off in case an ability missed or you low rolled or so the plan's starting to kind of like come together. So now we're back on Curran and we're like, hey, the system's kind of a little bit mucked up.
Meh.
So even though we revived Raj, we kind of want him to take a dirt nap again. But with him taking a dirt nap, we have to be careful that Rune doesn't die. Rune knows the reviving spell Reaver. So we do want Raj for the boss fight in the dungeon. But we don't want Raj to really get any experience. In this area, we want Chaz to get to 17. Because this is where he learns Gifu, which is the tier 2 light spell. And against the boss, it does deal substantial damage and makes it a little faster. You can go in with an underleveled Chaz, you just kind of have to make a mental note about it. For an any percent run, it's very easy for Chaz to start falling extremely behind on experience, which will make his HP pool smaller, which will make him more susceptible to dying. So pretty much for this area, we're going to be using 2 macros. Macro A is for a lot of these small groups, and then Macro B will be for like the stat minions in the crate tube fights. Bombs we're just going to run away from because they cause massive AoE damage, which we don't want to spend a lot of time healing after battles if we can help it.
Oh. Ouch.
Thank you, game, for showing off what's going on. Even though it was 25-30 damage, that's still enough to really put worry for the next fight, especially if you end up getting a couple of ambushes.
Oh. Well, that works. That was an example of menu blinking. I was actually aiming for macro B, but since the input was not totally correct, we ended up with macro C. Shame, but this was fine. Dum, dum, dum. Ooh.
Oh, this dungeon's been pretty kind for the most part. A small little string of ambushes and... So, like optimally, like, all these would be 4 packs of enemies. You would get a preempt on them. And this is where a lot of the time swing comes from the speedrun, is you can just have very few large encounters and get the level you need, or you get a bunch of like just small encounters and you end up bleeding 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minute here.
Okay. That was quite weird to get a napalm shot with no encounters, but I'll take it. Oh, sweet.
I'll be back in a second.
We're level 17, excellent. I don't have to do additional grinding. Through that door and we'll be fine. Okay, yeah, right. Not interested. There we go, made it. What's that over there in the shadow? That is not looking good. So let's prepare ourselves for something nasty. Or as the saying goes, something wicked this way come. So fragmental, Psy shield, and the Psy circuit state. There we go, macro A, we do Rune and Reaver. Aja will do Reaver as well. You do G-Res. You can do Flare and Saner. There we go. Yeah, that's good. State order. Jazz, Ren, Rune, we got Raja. Where's it? Let's go. Ooh, what's that? Dark Force. Aha! So, chat, count with me. We have 7 rounds of unbridled aggression until we have to defend. So that counts as round number 1.
Hello, wall boss.
Saner, and you will blessing.
So we did a macro A with a Rune and Raj Reaver. This macro is only really going to be used if Rune or Raj is dead. If anyone else is dead, we have other ways of dealing with it.
Round number 2.
This Dark Force has 4,500 HP, so a very large HP increase from what we've been dealing with Zeal with 2,900. And ideally you want Raj to be dealing pretty much all of the healing. You do need to use Ataraxia at some point just to refill Chaz's TP. So at the end of this fight, we're going to be devolving down to just Ren and Chaz alive. Rika and Rune have gotten a lot of experience from the Sandworm fight that they're still riding on. This is really the point where Ren and Chaz start needing to catch up. Ren himself just needs an exorbitant amount of experience to get a level. So he is very tough to kind of power grind for.
Ah, there we go. Fix.
So you can see Chaz with the plasma field.
And
a lot of the light or energy based attacks just aren't going to do anything.
We've done a lot of damage, so we should be good. Now we just need to wait. We'll be keeping Chaz and Ren alive. The others will wait their turn like that. You will keep Chaz alive.
If you're really aces on counting damage, you can have Rune and Rika do chip damage through like either Watt and attacks to kind of just inch that little bit closer. I know for me, when I count damage, I often just round up or round down, because trying to add like 287 and 145 and 132, my little peanut brain can't do it. But also losing like the 5 and 7 HPs kind of back and forth and trying to balance it out. You can't be like, all right, this turn's gonna kill, and he ends up living with like 20 HP, and you're like, I'm sad.
We need him to do either Phantom Mazer or Burst Rocket. So Dark Force is not being very cooperative currently. Ah, there we go. Yes, we're good. Let's finish this. Get to there. Oh, not there yet. It's as if I knew what I was doing.
So in case anyone hasn't noticed, turbo is allowed for these runs, just to promote hand health, because there is a lot of mashing at the end of battles, especially ones where you gain a lot of levels, because you have to mash through every level, good old like Earthbound style. So what some runners will do is you can keep like Turbo B on, or Turbo C, depending on how you set up your controller. So you don't have to worry about like toggling on and off.
Personally, I have some buttons that are mapped on the Turbo, and C is always Turbo. So I use both alternatively depending on the situation. Hey, I want to apologize to you, Dine. I've been cutting you a lot of times, so...
Oh, good.
Right.
You talk about nonsense anyways. So here we're going to just be doing a lot of boot scooting around Desolus. We do have a nice new machine. The Ice Digger will help us just basically traverse a lot of this land. There is some icebergs we need to cut up to get to where we're going. And a lot of this is just, once again, just visiting spots along the way for teleport points. So we are going to be also just progressing the plot quite a bit. This is where, if you're doing an any percent run, there's some things done out of order. Mainly because for marathon safety, we are going to implement quite a few grinding spots.
Yep.
So here we would end up going to Mist Vale, getting the Silver Claw, which is an optional dungeon, but the Silver Claw is just such a damage upgrade for Rika. it's really hard to route out, especially because even if you do get semi-bad luck, it is a very, very short dungeon.
Oh no! Ah,
No, Kame!
This is sad.
Everyone we recruit ends up either sick, dead, or dying. We're not good luck.
Yeah, that was what I was about to say. There's something wrong going on. Ooh. Mystery. Oh, okay, fine.
So it's okay though. We found a much cuter replacement for Raj in the form of Kira. She's not cute. Kira has a lot of support and healing ability. She does make herself to be a good attacker. Kira is just another good, well-rounded magic-based user. She does have a ability called Medis, which is a very, very potent single-target heal that will work on Android. She also much later on will have access to just a better D-band in the form of Warla, which in any percent is you might get it towards a very important boss or you might not. Just if you get it before a certain boss, you've had very bad luck.
It's not unusual, in fact. Yeah, but you don't want it.
Yeah. It's nice when you get it, but the timer is also sad.
Hey, nice. I got Warlock. Wait, I'm +5.
Yeah, I gotta get a lot of extra experience for it.
Alright, so here we apply the first rule of a good JRPG. In any secret place or temple, there is a treasury that you have to eventually visit and take everything.
Yeah, there's a Soldu, which is a very good, like, AoE heal. Lacko Rod, which is good money, or a good weapon for Rune. Reflect Robe, which is very good defensive piece of gear. And just raw money. So this is to progress the plot. This is where you are going to be visiting Lutz, the champion of Phantasy Star 2, I believe it's from. So there you find out it's just a memory orb.
Yeah. I think Lutz was in Phantasy Star 1, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. We need an expert to actually say it. Oh, Gref is in chat. Maybe he knows that. So yeah,
so now he's getting his...
Go ahead.
Oh, he's getting his memories transferred over to Chaz to try to... Or sorry, we found out that Lutz transferred his memories into Rune. Just to kind of keep the memory of fighting Dark Force alive.
So, Gref, for the question, we were trying to remember in which Phantasy Star Lutz was actually one of the protagonists. Hence why I asked you, because I do think that you may have an answer, but I'm not sure about it. Okay, so I have 2. You were right, Dine.
2? Aha! Blind guess is blind guess.
Okay, so I have a bit of a setups to do. Human. Alright, so Kira will do Jigra. Nope, Rune.
Once again, just setting up macros for the next area. When you just have, like, the rest attack is just trying to fill it in, and holding turbo down on the attack is easier than trying to put everyone into defense, especially if an enemy ends up living with marginal HP. You can kind of just chip away at them. And a lot of these macros are geared towards just certain encounter packs to deal with them all differently, just because of different resistances, or this might be overkill, or you're more likely to run into pack A instead of pack C.
There we go.
So here we see a little bit of a setup for Macro F was Rune Hiwin Kira Gifoy, which goes into the dual tech Firestorm, which is one of my favorite dual techs. Thankfully we do use it quite a bit through the run. It's just really good full screen fire damage. And here we'll just be teleporting out of the dungeon, or the temple I should say. It's faster than just walking back out, because we do need to talk to the priest on the top floor to kind of progress the plot.
We'll be getting the Eclipse Torch and headed to Garibek Tower. So that's cool. That's our next objective, of course.
But first, grinding.
Oh no. I swear, each time that I play this game, this kind of thing happens. Feels like it's scripted. Damn. Okay. I guess we'll have to chase them through the galaxy.
We're just gonna teleport out. Jut has a lot of...
Oh! Small information update. Loot was in Phantasy Star 1. Sorry. You gotta keep that. The Pyro can go, yeah.
So we're basically selling everything except the wood cane, hunt knife, plasma field. A lot of like the important equipment should still be on people. And then we're going to be buying a bunch of soul dues. Sorry, soul dues are revive items.
Yep.
And then trimates, which are very, very strong single target heals. We'll be buying a couple of them, and then we'll be buying some new armor for Chaz and Rika.
I do hope that we have enough. We'll be back anyway. Need to get to Reflect Mail to update our fighters gear, and after that we'll be visiting the weapon plant to get an upgrade for Ag. Oh yes, very good.
So having extra money is never a bad thing. You don't want to overbuy trimates just because of inventory space. We'll be back to buy more curative items at some point down the run. By no means will these items carry us all the way to the end game. So this is also just another optional dungeon, but this is a very large defensive increase for Ren, which will also impact the ability to barrier to reduce magic damage. And there are two different places you can kind of grind before going to Mistvale in a marathon route. One of them is you can stay in Weapons Plant. The encounters are a little more risky, but they do offer a lot more experience. And the other place is Climate Control. There's no real right or wrong place. I like, when I'm doing marathon runs, I like to grind in the Weapons Plant just because we're strictly here, but you're not always able to stay in this place just due to
Yikes.
how many damage or the type of encounters you got, because you might be resource starved.
Okay, we're fine. So these guys are possibly the strongest encounter you'll have into the weapon clan. They are very mean, hence why I reacted as we met them. If the three of them went and did Mother Canaan, we would have lost a few characters, and that would be very annoying. By the way, chat, go ahead.
Oh, that electric ability just does, like, androids are weak against that, so that's why the huge damage spike between anyone else and Ren. So if Ren gets targeted by that twice, he's taking a nap for a little bit.
Alright, what I was about to say is there will be a grinding session coming up pretty soon. During that time, it will also serve as information filler and so on, and possibly ask me anything session. So if you feel like you want to throw any kind of question either at the game or at myself, go ahead and hopefully I'll be able to answer, or we will have a good laugh about it. We'll see.
And then any percent run, we would pretty much stay here until we have 11,000 Meseta. That's just to help afford the next shop, and that's where taking a bunch of those extra encounters early on, also depending on drops, will change the time here. You can lose 45 seconds to a minute to try to get the necessary amount of money. One nice thing also coming here is we get free repair kits, and repair kits are items we can use to revive Ren in battle for. I believe they sell for 5 Meseta, so you could do some like cheap money grinding if you want, but
not yet, too early. Right.
So here we're buying the Phanta robe for Kira. It's a very good defensive gear, and it also increases her speed by 5. So this will put her just slightly below Rika in the terms of speed, which is very nice because Kira will be our primary healer for the next couple of legs of the game.
Alright, Kira, Phanta robe. Next, we Ryuka out. Oh, okay. No, that was the wrong destination. Zosa. There we go. We're going to visit the Climate Center. Oh.
So this encounter, it's very easy for this encounter to die in the vehicle battle, especially if they end up critting. General rule of thumb is if you can't run away on the first try, just end up nuking them down. Taking 400 damage, 500 damage a round, and trying to thread the needle just does not work out well. So climate control, you can find a optional equipment for Ren. A lot of Ren's abilities are found in treasure chests. There was one in right before we fought Dark Force. This is the rocket pack, I believe, is in this place. You can dual tech it with runes, Foy abilities for Shooting Star, which is a pretty nifty dual tech.
We'll do middies. Nope. There we go. Doing double slash, and you can go ahead. Do display the climate some controls. We're here to get a Punable, and we're here to get the on the post Vulcan. By the way, this is the exact same guy that we saw into Lydia Tower. The only difference is that we're significantly stronger. No. so it does not pose a challenge as much as being a rather long fight. It does pace decently, but other than that,
This always tripped me up when I was learning the run. I didn't know where to go because I'd accidentally come in here thinking it was weapons plant, and then you get into the encounter, you're like, well, this is going to be a nice time save next run.
yeah. First of all, you need to have this and that. There we go. Next skill.
So the big thing is we're looking for Kira to gain one more level, and then she's going to kind of take a nap. Kira, we are going to get some levels. We're going to get a lot of levels on her in a little bit. But for this area, the main goal is Kira 28, Chaz 23.
I'll be getting those though into the next area, probably into the Miss Veil. Nah, I can do a little bit of grinding here. It does not really matter because anyway we'll get the same result.
Ross is the one ability you never want to rely upon, but yet you have to.
Yeah. To be fair, in a casual playthrough, I never use browse, so there you go.
Ross is a full screen instant death move that it feels like it's a low chance to hit. It can save your bacon in a couple of fights in the dungeons coming up. Yeah, you can see the enemies here are quite a bit kinder than what they were in the weapons plant.
27, 21. This is fine. My Rika, I forgot to heal you. Let's go with that. Chaz. Alright, so let's take this opportunity to get out of here.
Now we're done the first leg of the grind.
Okay, yeah, right. I will not do that. Yeah, okay, fine. We just need to get Kira to level 28 before. Right.
So, hopefully you like this music. You're gonna hear it for quite a bit.
Probably, I would say, what, 15, 20 minutes?
It's pretty extensive grind here for all characters. This will make... We are going to do one more grind after this, and really every other dungeon is also a grind, but... These moles just suck. They're incredibly fast. And their animations do take quite a long time too, which also slows it down, but they are a good source of experience.
21, 28. Okay, fine.
So now Kira's hit the level we need her to.
Plasma field and reflect shield. Okay, fine. Now we do macro A, which is Ren will attack. Rika will use the flame sword. Do we have the flame sword? No.
I don't think you bought it. I haven't seen it in the inventory.
Yeah, it's not there yet since I didn't have enough money, so I'll be doing a first pass through this place. That should give me enough money. How much is it? I think it's 40,000, 14,000.
Yeah. It's like 12.6, I think, or something.
Yeah, I know that I did not buy it simply because my number were off. But this is fine. We'll be going back to Zulsa right after this to get that flame sword. And after that, we'll be going in to do a lot of monster bashing. So by the time we get the silver tusk, we should have enough money. Yeah, let's go with that.
The reason the silver tusk is so needed is it does 50% extra damage against evil enemies, which is pretty much every boss. So even though it's not the possible strongest claw stat wise that Rika can get, damage wise there's not really a lot of weapons out there that will surpass it in terms of damage output. Now I believe it doesn't get the extra damage from, I think it gets the extra damage for like disrupt and double attack as well, which makes it even just that much stronger. Disrupt will attack every enemy on the screen, and then double slash we've seen quite a bit of so far in the run.
It's really funny that Kira is like standing on the front row and monsters are currently very much ignoring her. I'm also used to have Kira in the second slot, and so I did recover a lot of time on Ren. Man.
Goodbye,
Bye, Kira. We got a few levels. You're level 25. That's good. Yeah.
Hello, kitty.
I
big kitty.
think that it's once again a reference as well as the Silver Tusk to the early Phantasy Stars, but I don't know which one is involved into the kitties itself. There we go.
And the flame saber will be used on a boss coming up. Also, if you use it as an item, it will cast Flaily. I know I'm saying the spell name wrong. I don't care. Bash me in chat. Go for it. So, because this grind is so extensive, it's the reason we picked up the Pulse Vulcan for Ren, and now we're grabbing the Flame Saber early because they're free items, and you're never going to have enough abilities at use or tech points at use to go through this grind without having to jump out and in a bunch of times. So reusing items, especially because a lot of the enemies here in Mistvale are weak against fire. Sure, the battles will be a little slower because we're going to be sooner or later just down to 2 party members. But this will make the grind a lot faster.
Well, also, through the Mistvale, the main advantage is that all of the enemies are weak to fire. I don't know if you've said it.
I just said that.
Ah, damn it. Sorry, my bad. I was thinking, that's an interesting notion to take, but okay, so I did said that I would hold a quick ask me anything. So I do think now would be a good idea. If you have any question related to the game or whatsoever, please feel free to ask me. If you're asking, for example, how's the weather outside, I will say a box and a wood plank. All right, 22 and 25. So the
I've seen
first,
some people.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't going to say something very relevant. So.
I was gonna say casual playthrough, generally 20 to 30 hours. A good friend of mine, Talio, played through it about a year ago, and it took him about 28. It is a rather short RPG, thankfully. It can get kind of confusing where to go at times, but the game does a very good job on mostly like holding your hand, especially now with like maps being readily available on GameFAQs and stuff like that. Oh, there's a lot of grinding.
Currently, what we are targeting is asphalt. We want Rune to get to level 26, at which point he will learn the Nefoy fire skill technique, which is very interesting. We want Jazz to get to level 23, which will be a very good safety net for him. We want Rika to get to level 31. So that will take big amount of time, because even if the monsters play decently well and we end up killing all of the other characters, as you can see, she's level 27, so that means killing a few enemies.
Yeah, generally if you fight everything along the way, that'll put you in a good spot for like the next coming dungeon or bunch of enemies or really whatever you're running into. As Wuzian's mentioning in chat, it's something I always forget about. The talk option will also kind of like help guide you in the right direction. If you don't really know what to go, they'll be like, hey, this person said go this way. Or so I've been told. I've only done this in a speedrun sense.
Yeah, basically what they are doing is they will be chatting among themselves related to what happened at the last plot point. So that helps you figuring out what you were doing and where you are headed. Most of the time also they will be a little bit helpful on the hint that they will give you. For example, if you have to say go to Soldier Temple on crew, they will hold some kind of conversation between themselves, saying like, oh yeah, that happened and we do need to get to Soldier Temple right around crew, do we? So let's get there, okay? Ow!
To put into perspective, pretty much the level we're leaving this area is the level like Rika would finish a run at in any percent. Close to it with a little bit of variance. But once again, like this isn't going to make everything going forward 100% safe. It is just going to make it safer.
Yeah.
Just by the way, like the game's mechanics operate. Unless you grind another 5 or 6 levels on top of that, even then you still have a chance to wipe. But mainly it's time versus safety, is we are doing quite a bit of safety. But to make the run completely safe is like, where do you draw that line off? Where are you going to do as much time grinding as the run takes?
Yeah. Well, if I wanted to be perfectly safe with it, first of all, I will do all of the quests, subquests, and second, I will get my character around level 40. If I do a casual playthrough, that is usually where I land. At level 40, okay, you are exceptionally strong to handle all of the problems that you have, and even the last boss doing one of the most abusive combo is not too bad. You can recover from that. But given the safety that we will be using right now, that will not stop that. And in my last practice run before the marathon, I ended up dying at the last boss. This is quite a possibility even with the safety net that we are currently using. So yeah, let's remove everything from Rune to make him squishy squishy. Surprise attack. Woohoo!
So as we were saying, our goal is once Rika hits level 31, we are going to be grinding an extra 10,000 experience just for a little bit of safety. And then we're pretty much going to just be continuing on with the story. This doesn't mean that we're going to be running from like dungeon start to boss. We will be taking encounters along the way to the boss. This is a theme that's going to happen to pretty much the end of the game. This is just to get us a very nice jump start.
Well, Rune Sir is leeching a little bit of XP here. Ah, this is fine.
Yeah, he's been mobile for a little too long now.
Yeah, surprise attack against angry moles. Why not? Main advantage here is that in terms of resource, this grinding is a little bit free. So we don't spend a lot of skills, technique point, and so on. That's helpful. The annoying part is that currently the three remaining characters are pretty fast. Ah, there we go. Bye, Rune.
He took a lot more damage from that than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, well, the fact that I removed every piece of equipment from him sure did not help. Where we are, okay, 27 and 29, so we do have a lot of killing to do, so... Reminder that we are doing this only to remove a lot of the threat into this run and not because it's actually into the any route. Currently I would be at the 2-hour mark. I think I'm into Air Castle or probably finishing it, something like that.
You see, the battles here are also pretty quick, and we're averaging about 2,000 to 3,000 experience.
Yes, what's more is that since we are gaining a few levels, we are stronger, so if the enemy gets a chance to attack, they won't do as much damage as they could.
Yeah, as Jeff's mentioning in chat, and we've mentioned it a couple of times during the run, it's a very punishing but yet very rewarding speedrun when you're threading the needle for any percent. Any encounter just has the chance to end your run. And not even including like bosses, just like random encounters. You end up getting an ambush by 4 people, and especially if someone like Rune and Chaz die, or especially at this point Rune, because Rune is your big revive boy until Chaz gets to
Well,
level 26, and then he learns Reaver, which is the revive spell.
level 25, sorry.
25.
Yeah.
But there's just, it's gotten to the point where you've shaved off a lot of the safety strats in terms of just hoping RNG goes your way to save time. In terms of, do you get 8 encounters in Air Temple compared to 20? If you get a lot of the Phantoms, they're easy kills, but they're not worth a lot of experience. So all these things, like most RPGs, kind of influence you at once you're going for like a top time. But even though it is an extremely punishing run, I do find it very rewarding. You just end up trudging through the trenches. Even the last boss has multiple ways it can wipe you. But it's one of the more favorite RPG speedruns I've learned over the years.
As for me, it was my first major project once I went more seriously into speedrunning. To make a little bit of time on the rewarding aspect of it. Once I got my first and only, my PB stands at 2 hour 53, which is sub 3 hour. And once I got that time, I was so happy about it because there's so many ways the game can throw a curveball at you and end it. So yeah,
I think even. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
PP Chan, the current world record holder, I believe he lost a minute and a half on the sandworm split from resetting for slugs. And like, his run is still very good execution-wise. It's definitely not perfect by any means. PP Chan's just a very good runner and knows how to deal with the RNG in a very precise manner. But the one thing, this run to me is always a nice learning experience because it really tempers you to temper your outcome. Like, it's very easy to look at the splits and be like, I'm 2 minutes ahead. PB is guaranteed. PB is never guaranteed.
PB is guaranteed. Oh wait. No. I do say that PB is guaranteed only when I hit the button for the last time. So that would be my last fight here.
But even, so like, if this amount of grinding isn't your kind of thing and you want to get into Phantasy Star speedrunning, the 100% run might be up your alley. It's close to a marathon style any percent run time. You do see more of the game, and you do like a little bit of the fetch quest stuff, and you get to finish stuff like Wreckage, Climate Control, Soldier's Temple to completion. So it's not so much of staying in one place and grinding, but you're still doing the same amount of grinding, but you're just seeing different locations. And of course, you do end up with a little bit better defensive gear near the end of it too, which does help a little bit. Funny enough, you do kind of end up around the same levels, but
Good shots. Now Rune re-equip tube size shield, robe, and size circle. Rika has Plasma Clan Silver Tusk. There we go. Kira with the Reflex Shield. Ooh. Oh wait. Okay. Phantom Robe, Ice Shield, Reflect Shield, and Silver Crown. Yeah, that fits. Chaz remove his sword, and we'll be going back to June. Wait a minute. I do have something else to do. Pulse Vulcan. There we go. That's what I was forgetting.
Yeah, it is kind of, it's interesting yet frustrating that every boss has their own unique way to end your run. We'll point them out just for poops and giggles when we get there, but
I
a
did
lot of it
there.
is just depending on slow characters being not so slow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I did a little mistake. This will only cost me money and not time. I'm not supposed to have... Oh, yes. That's fine. Because I haven't sold... Okay, now I get it. Keeping the plasma field, flame sword, and this can go. There we go. So now we'll buy a trimate. And I'll have to replace the reflect mail that I sold by mistake, and we'll be getting a Lego sword for chance.
We will be keeping the flame saber just because the extra damage against a certain boss coming up is going to be. It saves you a turn, which is nice. And then the Lacko sword is just overall more damage for Chaz.
Right, so Lego, reflect mail, next. Kira, Rika will do double slash.
Now we'll get rid of our grinding macros. Get them more for the dungeon macros. And this next dungeon coming up, a lot of people dislike. I kind of dislike it for the encounter rate, but it's a nice throwback to the older Phantasy Stars. Also, it's just, I like the layout of it. So we're going to the one, the only Air Castle.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big throwback to, I believe, Phantasy Star 1. I don't understand much of this lore outside of just what I've heard in like marathon runs. I still have to play through these games casually to fully appreciate the story, so I'm just kind of going off of old foggy memory.
Nah, I'm not forced to do them now. So lore-wise, what's happening is that we are visiting the last area in Phantasy Star 1, I think, because the main boss in Phantasy Star 1 was the Sheik. So hence why we are going back. I think. If I followed the stories adequately. So the Air Castle is the longest dungeon in this game. You have two parts. The first part being the castle himself, where you have to go to the very top because a mage of the three wizards that stole the Eclipse Torch earlier are blocking the way to the basement. Once we defeated oh wow, that's quite a high encounter rate. Once we have defeated those three guys, we'll have access to the basement, where we have a rendezvous with the Sheik himself. Nice.
The dimensional worms are just low enemies. If you can, they don't give a lot of experience. They're definitely the big time sink in this dungeon. We are seeing quite a bit of them, so even though we did do that big grind, we're just gonna keep hammering that home.
Yep.
Missing the potential experience from having encounters we can take will have a little bit of a negative effect long term. So even though we're far surpassed our level bonuses, we still do need an influx of experience to keep those levels we grinded, or the bonus levels, I should say. It's always nice when you can go on these long walks. It does kind of suck after every encounter the dungeon's theme resets. so you get really tired of the first set over and over again. So anytime you can hear like a full loop, you're in a good spot. And we're free to use pretty much any ability here. Thankfully, right before kind of the boss, there's a restore point, like a healing pad from the spaceship. So thankfully they were nice enough with this dungeon to give you a restore point at some point in the dungeon.
Yep.
One of the big things you run into in the any percent speedrun is with the boss, if a certain turn order doesn't happen, there's no save point instead of before where we got here. So a death to this boss is like 6 minutes, 7 minutes. And this is where like the real big punishing starts. It's been happening for a little while now, but this is where it really hammers home, just because the dungeons are longer. And it's not like Final Fantasy where you get a save point before the boss. No, the save point's like the beginning of the dungeon. Which is another reason those extra levels we grinded for just adds that extra layer of safety. Because you're grinding for 25 minutes, but it's still better than doing the any percent run and potentially running up to the triplets 2 or 3 times.
Oh yeah. Usually, if you die into the air castle, that's pretty much a rip and a reset case. So yeah. Unless
So
of course
now that we've hit... Go ahead.
Unless of course you wish to take the time penalty, but the longer you last here, the bigger the penalty, so yeah, no. Not very advisable.
So now that we stepped on the point, we're gonna kind of be somewhat safe with the abilities we use. Rika, thankfully, all the macros involves her double slashes, except the macro we would use on the corrosives. We do want to keep her disrupts. They're very much needed for the boss. Everything else is really just hit or miss. If you burn through Kira's Badises and her TP, you've had a much rougher air castle than probably anyone should expect.
Mm.
Here's the good old firestorm.
Oh, bonus trimate. Sweet. Probably that I will end up ditching it somewhere. So the upcoming boss fight is not a hard one. It is a technical one. You need to do things in order to control the fight. The things that we'll do is simple. We want Ren to do barrier very fast, and we want every other character to throw their let me just check for a second. Yeah, Jerez on rune will be welcome. Alright, and we want every other character to throw skills or technique at them so that they will counter with Thunder Blast. And since we have equipped the... Let's do this. Since we have equipped the plasma field on Rika, she will take only 1 hit point of damage. That is not the case currently, and now that will be the case. Yeah.
Yeah, in any percent, the big thing is Ren getting barrier up before the triplets do an action. This is a kind of an AI lock, where if the triplets get hit with an AoE ability, all 3 of them will spend their turn to do this Thunder Blast move. So general rule of thumb is you want 7 instances of AoE damage before everyone ends up just taking a nap. And then Rika with Shift, the Silver Claw, and Disrupt will pretty much take care of everything else. So in some instances you will have to have Rika just revive Kira, and Kira will do Hewin or Gra for 4 or 5 turns, depending on how the first turn acts.
Alright.
So now we just kind of disrupt, which makes a potentially very easy boss, which is something Jeffrey and us have been talking about in chat. It makes a potential easy boss into a very, very difficult boss. That's the big way of just ripping there, is just if Ren decides to low roll on speed, there's nothing you can do. You just go back to the beginning of the game.
So now the road to the basement is open. Let's go for it. When the late stage of doing the any run, I don't step on the healing pad right behind the triplets. That's kind of a risky strat. Alright, the basement. The basement is really straightforward. As long as you go down, you'll be going counterclockwise. And after that, you'll reach the bottom of the basement and start to go upstairs. And as you climb the stairs, you'll be going clockwise. You just have to keep that in mind, and the road is suddenly much less confusing than it is. Apology.
After the triplets, you can leave the area and then save in the airport area. Just in case you end up ripping in this area, you don't have to redo this and the air temple. Because this area, even though it's only 8 or 9 screens, can also... A lot of these areas are just going to be extremely rude going forward. This area especially, for me, was very easy to get lost in. A lot of the rooms just end up kind of looking the same if you're just kind of like half paying attention.
Classic. So now you see the main problem of this run. Rune dying is very unfortunate because he's the one that can revert our character, so you don't want that to happen. It's not much of a big problem, but if we're doing the any route, now that becomes a big problem. Now you might be saying, okay, but then why don't you put him into the back row where he is safer? The main reason is that with his 2 side shield, Rune still have a way better defense than Rika. So if you put Rika into the 3rd row, yes, Rune will be better protected, but you will end up healing a lot more, since Rika will take much more damage at that position. Yep. My rule of thumb is usually to heal any character that is under 100 hit point, since the next battle will pretty much mean they could take a beating hard enough to die, and we don't want that, of course. Right. Could have gone with Macro G instead. This is fine. Hey, I thought that Kira was already level 20. All right. Okay, now I remember. I was supposed to get Kira to level 28 outside of the air castle. Is that a big problem? Not really.
She's down a lot. Between her being dead early, not getting the bonus 10k in Mist Veil, and running from a lot of the encounters in the Air Temple, you're down quite a bit of experience.
This explains that. Ow.
Getting close to the end of the dungeon.
Oops. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is the last floor. Nah, I'm mistaken. Nearly there.
So Chaz will get the. This is the only reason we end up buying the Flame Saber in the any percent route. Is Lashik is weak against fire, so that extra 50% damage is nice, especially when it's coupled with Chaz's cross slash. It's about an extra of about 120 damage, which doesn't sound like a lot, but anything you can do to end that fight faster is definitely better.
Yep. From now on, we need to follow a recipe, and we need that recipe to work. If there's a problem in it, that could very much mean instant death or a lot of problem either in that boss or the following ones. So it's not unusual, for example, for one boss to go very hard and then your life for the second one. Okay, I don't have any resources left. What do I do? Well, you can only pray at that point.
We're getting pretty unlucky with the encounters we've been getting. Rika's had to use quite a bit of double slashes, which could bleed into an issue with the boss. Just if you end up running out early in the fight, Rika is a very large damage dealer as long as a healer, and buffer. She pretty much does everything. And there's no real like, hey, this is a 6-round fight or a 9-round fight. The boss is going to dictate how many rounds it is, or very minorly on how risky you want to play.
You do McFoy, you do even air slash, because at that point the chances are high you'll be done. Cycle wand.
So in lieu of attacks, you can use like airstrike or disrupt. Air slash is just the same attack power as a normal physical attack. The only difference is it can't crit. So instead of queuing Chaz up for an attack, you'll see a lot of runners queue up like air slash and disrupts. Like I said, you do lose the chance to crit, but at least it's a guaranteed hit. Because hit rate's not always kind to you in these kind of things. So this is the good old joke boss.
Chaz level 25. First baddie that is actually a real threat to any run.
Sheik's got 6,000 experience or 6,000 HP. Gonna open up with the normal round of buffs, Barrier, Warla, Saner. Just get as much as that damage mitigation in as we can. We're not using Chaz's crosscuts yet because we're waiting for Rika to cast Shift on him. So whatever small amounts of crosscuts he has, we really want to maximize that damage. And this boss's gimmick is if you just don't get Barrier or Warla up, if he does another gate or Thunder Halbert, you can come back from it depending on his next set of turn orders, but it's you are fighting a very big uphill battle. And once again, that just comes down to RNG speed rolls.
Wow.
If he also spams another gate, you can just run out of healing items. If you're super unlucky, Stardew's instead of Jaceres, Stardew's will heal a little bit more, but you can also just get to the point where you spend more time recovering from damage than you're actually dealing damage. So even though like you're kind of living through the battle, you're not progressing the battle.
Oh, sweet! Bonus round.
Possession on Ren is pretty much a free turn because Ren can't be put to sleep because Android. So when he gets down to, I believe it's 25% HP, he'll use an ability called Reinforce, which will buff all of his stats. Which is why we have the Psycho Wand.
I'm taking the risk.
Instantly debuff it.
Let's do it. Just as planned. Right, so this is the last round. We don't worry too much because we just want to finish him. And probably that he will die like that.
Rough start, clean finish.
Yeah, the fact that he did the 3 another gate was pretty annoying, and I wanted to keep at least 1 Stardew available, or 2, so yeah. The fact also that we are severely stronger than in the any round helped, because we did a lot more damage. I do think we easily shaved 1 round from the normal fight. Right. Maple sword stayed macro. We got attack, rim sphere.
So now we got the Eclipse Torch, which can be used as a weapon or as an item in battle to do AoE fire damage or holy damage. It's good to get in the next area just because a lot of the enemies are undead.
Yep.
And once again, it's just another resource management.
Barrier. Hey, check it out. Whee! We don't want to use that macro, so if I ended up using it, it's like, eh.
Yeah, Macro E with Chaz Bros Rune DM. Both of those are instant death abilities. We will be running into a triplet type monster archetype in the next dungeon, and they are weak to instant death. The issue with Chaz's Bros is it is very PP expensive. So you're really hoping not to use it too much because it is 25 TP and it will end up depleting him pretty quickly. So welcome to Grubrick Tower, or as a lot of people call Garbage Tower.
Yep.
This area is... You thought Air Temple was very confusing. This is another extremely confusing area. Everything looks like breathable walls, and they've now added the additional content of having to use switches to extend rooms.
I apologize in advance for the bit rate. As you can see, there's a lot of floor that are pretty intense. Nothing like the last dungeon, but still it can get a little bit blurry by time. Let's go with that. Eh.
Are going to be getting a extremely good item that will replace Rika's shift ability. It's not as strong, but it's nice because anyone can really use it on themselves. That switch will open up the passage to the next area. It also grants us access to the power shield.
Okay, bye.
And the power shield, when used as an item, will cast a attack up on that character, which is nice because Chaz can use it to increase his attack while Rika can end up dealing damage or buffing herself. And this is where keeping the leather shield from the very beginning of the game will pay off, because it's been sitting in slot 4 or slot 5. So we'll equip the power shield and then replace it with the leather shield, which will put the power shield very high up in the inventory. So when we want to use it as an item, or if we want to make a macro revolving around it, we don't have to go that far down, because every time you're cycling through a page, you're just eating up small amounts of time.
Fair. Ouch. That hurt. So, I'm trying to spare a few medices, hence why Chaz will be healing a little bit, and will be using a little bit of G-Rev from Kira. The reason is that at the very top of this place there will be someone waiting for us, and medics will be useful. It's not dramatic if I ended up using a lot of those. We just want to keep, let's say for example, maybe 4 medics. At the very least.
Those zombie enemies can be a rather large pain, but they are a good source of experience.
Very.
You can either use the Eclipse Torch or Rika's Disrupts.
Ah.
They
Disrupt is...
hit hard, but they're one of the more tamer monster packs you'll find in the tower.
Now let's go with that. That smell. So this is another area where a very good lead can be dispelled quite quickly, because if the encounter rate ramps up, and there's a lot of reason to believe it will be so here, you can end up losing a lot of time, and there's nothing much to be done other than to pray very hard. Also, the thing that is really amazing about this game is that somewhat the centaurs are amongst the slowest monster you can find in this game. So if you try to run away, you will always be able to do so. Weird. Pretty intense encounter rate. Oh no.
I'll say it's living up to its name of Garbage Tower. This is where just the encounter rate seems to skyrocket, which isn't a bad thing for a marathon run, because we are short quite a bit of experience just from Kira not getting to 28 earlier. So this will help just supplement it a little bit more. For a marathon run, extra experience is never a bad thing.
Yeah. Although, currently we stand in a very good position experience-wise. So I'm not too worried about that. It takes a long time though to unfold, so yeah, that's the annoying part.
You're getting pretty close to the end of the dungeon. Just 500 more encounters and 4 rooms left, and we're good to go.
Probably. Oh, woohoo! Made it.
Hello, bye-bye.
Yeah. So those guys are the same one that you find into Air Castle. They have... oh. Alright. Hey! That was a bargain. That was a bet. As you've seen, those guys can be very annoying, so you don't want to fight them as much as possible. Trying to run away is a huge bet. This will pay though.
Yeah, you see, even though we're kind of like at a level of maybe a little lower than a casual, thankfully with Phantasy Star 4, a lot of the random encounters, it's always easy to say in hindsight, but they don't have a lot of HP. So it's not like you'll see a lot of mobs with like 7,000 HP. You probably will in like the final walk, but for the most part, everything's got like 200 to 600. Even the tankier ones have like 800.
So the Dark Marauder here is an enemy that can slow you down because it has a fairly high agility rate. So that means if you try to run away from it, you have a chance to be locked down. Those guys hit pretty decently hard, and in my any runs, I would usually try to run away from those because those battles are annoying. Now this one is dangerous.
So Rika does have the Geno Claw equipped, which does have a small chance to proc a instant death.
Come on.
Unfortunately, it's not proccing here. And Rune just doesn't get that many casts of DM, unfortunately, as well.
Well, nice crit, I suppose.
Pretty powerful against these type of enemies. Ray Blade!
Yay, we're saved. Note, Ray Blade is actually kind of interesting because it's a light attack. So in most cases, it's actually a good attack, but Crosscut will do better damage since instead of being a magical attack, it's a physical attack, and we can boost it with either shift or the power shield. Fine. It's pretty hard to get rid of my old reflexes.
You know, the deeper you get into this dungeon, the more like Dark Marauds, the more King Sabers, the more like Chaos Magicians you're going to start to see.
Huh? Yes.
Ah, there's the Geno Claw proc.
Nope. This is fine. Wow, check out my current TP. We had a very high encounter rate. It's not uncommon to have those kind of sentence. On my PB, I had a very good Garrick tower. If the tower is actually very good, you have a pretty good time. Alright, let's do some stuff. Res on yourself would be fine. Now we'll equip the power shield, leather shield, and Mako sword. I need you to have the reflect shield because I need that plasma field. Yeah, okay.
This is a pretty big, extensive macro menu. This is pretty much all for really this boss. Even though it takes time to set them up, it is much better than continually just manually queuing everything up because, once again, depending on what the boss does, you will be switching up what you counter with. And especially for the healing, we're going to have 3 healing macros. 1 with Chaz, 2 with Rune, and that's just going to differentiate how far in the battle we are and what we need to do to counter it, because sometimes you'll need Rune to revive and then Kira to throw like a Stardew. especially depending on what he does for his first move.
Kira will do give boy, double slash, cross cut, there we go, and lastly this one. River, run, barrier. So we use this one only if Ren died on the first turn, which would be absolutely terribly bad. There we go, where's... Hey!
Another wall spooter. Wait, what do you mean there's a second Dark Force?
Or as I like to say, a really angry spider bro. Alright, so first of all, macro E.
So this is... A lot of these boss battles come forward and you're just hoping Ren acts before the enemy does, because that was a lot of, like, mitigated damage.
I got lucky here. Woohoo! There. So use Stardew, where it is. There we go. In the foil, I want you to use our shield. There it is. And crossbow.
Now we're just gonna finish buffing everyone up. So he can't really do many scary moves now that we're all buffed. He can't just do a lot of AoEs, which is going to waste time because you miss out on 2 people attacking. And with Light Shower in any percent run, you're not always going to be replenishing the amount of damage you receive. So there will come to a point where Chaz will just slowly start being chipped away at HP to the point where you might have to use a Stardew or a Stardew and a G-Res to get him back up to full.
Come on. Rika is currently healing as much as he hurt us, so we should not have to rely on the Stardew, but I'm beginning to... Stop spamming that, please. You want NorthRex 2 to do as many single attacks as possible. If he begins to be... there we go. Bye, Chaz. This is fine, this is fine.
So since Chaz died, he does lose Saner. The Saner buff is just extensively tricky. Barrier, Warla, Deban, all those buffs will persist through death. Saner has some interesting properties. If you're dead, your agility gets set to 0, which means you lose the buff. If you get put to sleep and wake up naturally, you lose the buff. If you get woken up via a spell, you keep the buff. Paralyze is the same way. So there's a bunch of like really strange instances. Unfortunately, Chaz just being, or fortunately, Chaz just being a damage dealer, we really don't care about his speed. If Kira died, for instance, or Rika died, we would want to re-Saner instantly because since they are the Healy girls, we want them to be as fast as possible to try to outspeed the boss. So there's nothing worse than taking an AoE to the face and then taking a second to the face before you're able to recover from the first one.
That fight is currently very weird. Okay, thank you, I suppose. Recover, use Stardew. There we go. Out of TP! Oh boy! Okay, crosscut. Okay, see, so Chaz has 13 TP, will be good to teleport after the battle.
Grand Cross? Oh baby!
Oh sweet! Haha, haha! What a kill! Nice! So yeah, the scary part was that he did so many light shower. It was very annoying. You don't want him to deplete your Stardew stock.
So in the wake of killing Dark Forest 2, he blew up the temple in Gumbius. And
Kaboom.
Rika's like, alright, I'm outie 500. I got other stuff to do. She's like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
So now we're just going to teleport to Gumbius, check out the giant hole in the ground that used to be the temple.
All right.
So not only have we've destroyed 2 holy places since we've arrived on this planet.
Yep.
And these people are still nice to us.
We are that efficient, or
Yep. So now we're looking for an item called the Arrow Prism, which will send us to the hidden planet of Rykros. So Ren's like, hey, I'll contact Demi and she can make us a vehicle that can just go across water. We're like, all right, sweet. Well, we already got the spaceship, so...
Now we're back on Notavia, and we'll be doing just a little bit of grinding before continuing with the game.
The hydrofoil is one of the most unyieldly vehicles you'll ever come across.
Now, yeah. I'm not too familiar with this one, so I need to focus a little bit. There we go.
So now we're going to Valhalla, or the Soldier's Temple. This is a very, very rough dungeon. This is the last Hunter's Quest, where it kind of leads you. Here we'll be getting roughly 40,000 experience, depending if Rex wants to try to make up on some he's lost out on. There isn't really like a level requirement at this point, just because Air Temple, the basement, and Garbage Tower could all just be varied depending on what encounters you got. This is kind of just the last big experience boost. These enemies are extremely rough. If you've started the Hunter's Quest, the force field will be down so you can progress, but thankfully we can still trigger encounters in this little small room. There is no target level at this point, because like I just said, from Air Temple, Basement, and Garbage Tower, the amount of experience you're going to get in those 3 dungeons is going to be variable. Now, if Kira ended up living through triplets, you would end up grinding an extra 5,000 to 7,000 experience here to make up for it. There is no real set target level, just because we've far surpassed it with the other grinds. This is just
55.
padding the bank account a little more. Thankfully, Rika's experience needs are a lot lower than everyone else's, so she ends up just gaining levels much quicker.
Meh. 65.
So Rika might end up hitting like 38. Ren might hit 33. More likely he'll hit 32 and that's it.
Oh
Ren
boy.
needs an absurd amount of
Why?
experience for a level up.
Ah, damn it. Good job. 105. Uh-huh. Good. So that will put us at approximately 165. Uh-oh. Ow, 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 ow. Let's try to kill them before they kill us.
Ooh.
Oh. Right, so that's... Rune is paralyzed. Okay, so Rimba. Let's say 200.
Reaper.
Ow. That hurt.
They're out for blood.
Yeah. It's as if this area was actually very dangerous. So...
In the 100% run, when you come through here, it's debatable if you want to bring the other party member or not. The other party member makes this pretty nice, especially with those instant death attacks on Ren.
Let's go with that. Of course. 23, 20... Let's say 29. Aha, of course. Okay.
So if you're doing the marathon safe run, a good rule is 40,000 on Ren and Rika. So like if Rika's died through any of these encounters, you generally wouldn't count that experience just because
Wow.
they're your two main characters. So it all depends on like how risky or safe you want to do your marathon run.
One or two battle and we should be done. Okay, so finally something compliant. You just have to not let those guys attack. They take a few turns to turn on, and after that it's like destruction to your team. So if you're faster than them, you're happy.
We can't take the dungeon chest because we don't have access to the dungeon.
Yeah.
Was he in?
It bonk. One more fight. Come on. Or not. There we go.
Ren's add-on here is extremely nice. We do pick it up in the 100% run, mostly because it's just category defined. But you could go back to Adeo to start the quest for it. There is a slight argument for it in first time, which in a marathon run you don't want to overbloat. But if you can show off some cool things in the terms of like a minute or a two, then it's not the biggest of deals, especially if the run's been going pretty smooth up to this point.
Alright, it's time to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Seth. Seth is so strong, in fact, that all the memes surrounding the best man in the world was only authorized because Seth allowed it. Can you believe it? I sure can.
With a mustache like that, I feel safe.
Oh yeah, very.
So Seth is an archaeologist that has some pretty concerning abilities. Death spell? Well, he is here by himself, so like he does have to take care of himself. Corrosion? You know, like, alright, I can understand that. He needs to like get rid of some rocks. I trust this man. Nothing bad is going to happen.
Yeah, it's not like the guy is currently loaded with dark abilities. Probably because he studied the dark art. Nothing serious. Right, so since I did not use a Soldew, I used one Moldew, but that's fair, so I'll be skipping the Soldew. There's not a real need to get it. The only enemies that we'll be fighting are the Flame Newt, because those guys are quite fast and will probably stop you from running away. Other than that, not really worth it. Just to show the very gentle ability Death Spell. Oh, that was a wrong turn.
Yeah, the giant brown slugs and the lizards are an excellent point of experience. These little ooze juniors just aren't really worth fighting. If you're really under level and you don't want to risk it, it's a runner to runner thing, but a lot of time you're just not going to get meaningful experience. It's nice if you're close to like a pivotal level for any percent, because that extra level can give you an extra 10, 12 HP, which will make this next boss coming up is has the same mechanics as the other boss. If they act before Ren does, your boots. The only nice thing is you can save right before them. So it's not uncommon to lose a little bit of time from trying the fight over and over. Unless you're insanely behind, there's no reason to really kill your run for like a first try death.
Hey,
Most of
we're
us have
even
had-
getting praised from Seth. I mean, we're probably strong then. Alright, made it to the top. At that point, I want Seth to be very fast. Go. Go. Equal circlet. State. We did not lose a single hit point. Very good. So usually I end up here at level 27. We are level 30. So that gives you an idea. Those 3 levels will make a difference. Inus. Right. The road to Rickrose is now open. Let's go. Huh?
Oh my god, it's Dark Force again.
Seth, no.
So this fight, if he opens with barrier or if he opens with corrosion, it's insta reset. This is the first boss that can
Ouch.
do agility down. So there are a lot of points where like you're using Rika and Ren to heal here, but you're also using Rika to reapply the speed buff.
Need you to do D-Bam. Need you to deploy, and I'll be using chats to heal. Start you. Going flare with Ren is a risk, but I'm fairly confident that he should be able to survive. Now we're set.
So Geyser is a pretty TP costly spell at 24. So you generally get 4, maybe 5. And he can just have the whole battle just spamming this over, which, depending on how Dark Force 2 went with light distortion and things like that, you could just lose this fight just from not having any curative items left.
Shield in the foil
Which
and cross.
Every runner's probably ran into at least once or twice. Rika, we're power shifting just for the chance of her being able to attack. We're just trying to maximize that amount of damage.
Okay, that's fine. Want to explain the arrow situation?
I'll re-explain it. So since Chaz is asleep, if he's woken up by a spell, he'll keep the Saner buff. But if he wakes up naturally, he loses the Saner buff. If you die, you lose the Saner buff. If you're paralyzed, you lose the Saner buff. With Chaz being DPS, it's not the biggest deal in the world. If it happened to Rika, for instance, then you'd want to reapply Saner right away.
Yeah.
So this, because Chaz woke himself up naturally, you need to reapply it. You could have Rika also just do double slash.
Okay.
Just try to put out as much damage as you can.
Wow. The reason why I went Saner is that both Rune and Chaz were out of it, so having a secondary character with it was pretty useful. Finally, a single.
It's the 21-year-old grizzled adventurer. You're not wrong, actual JP.
Oh, okay. Fair. So we cannot do Gisar anymore. Hey, my child.
Getting pretty lucky with the Mind Blast. Mind Blasts are, if it only hits one person, ideally it would go for Ren. Because he can't be put asleep. Makes the fight pretty free.
Ouch. Okay, I'll have to do things differently now. You were woken up, so yeah, okay, I can do that.
So we use Nafoi
Oh,
just
boy.
because it's good damage with a pretty fast cast speed. You can eke out a little more damage with Nawat, but it is a little bit of a slower animation. And there's that agility down move.
Stop doing that. I only have one Stardew left.
So this is a pretty beefy boss. He's got 8,200 HP,
And
and for
recover.
4 people
Double
is
slash.
quite troublesome to get through.
Let's go with
You
GFS.
can see we're running into a little bit of an issue with,
Yeah.
even with all the grinding, we're still kind of getting into a tight spot.
This was beginning to be scary. As you can see, even in marathon setup, things can go sour. If this was in any run, I'm pretty sure that I would have died here or in Dark Force 2, because the two of them were very AoE happy, which cost a lot of resources, and I have less of those available.
Thankfully with the marathon, because of the grinding, you can go and purchase more Stardews before going into the Dark Force 3 fight. If you've had like a very bad Dark Force 2. So you can prepare yourself a little bit more for that, where with the any percent run, like Rex is saying, you just don't have the money to really buy any extras at this point, sadly. Or if you do, you're kind of moving it from one section to another, which hurts.
Alright, so a bit of story. Once you arrive here, you'll be greeted by the planet itself, which is a guardian of the galaxy, basically. And what he's saying is that long ago, two major entities fought battle, and one of them is actually sealed here in Algo Solar System. It asks us to rescue the solar system, but before that, he asked us to pass 2 challenges. So we'll be going there. Now the main thing to worry about is that most of the encounters have the potential to kill us. So it's not unusual to lose a run from a random encounter into this planet.
Once again, just walking around to get some very big defensive increase. The guard sword for Chaz is a very large damage increase over the Lacko sword. And the guard shield, Rika's now kind of, since Kira's not in the party, Rika's the main healer. Of course, like when she can deal damage is always nice as well. But for her, we want to to have as much defense as possible without just completely nerfing her.
Miss you. Oh, nice. We don't even learn that technique into the NE run, or it's pretty rare.
So now the wood cane is finally getting upgraded. The guard rod is basically a party-wide, little bit weaker Geyser. So now we have a kind of just free way for a medium full party heal. Which using like guard rod and Geyser is obviously much more powerful than a Stardew, but will at this point top everyone up. Yeah, that's a good point, J-Live. The bosses aren't really super dangerous. Thankfully, they don't have nearly as much HP as like Dark Force 3 does. The encounters here, though, are pretty deadly. It's very easy just to get an ambush with like triple Chaos Sorcerers or something, and
Yeah. Or the
just
Blood
be
Sabers.
laying on the floor.
Blood Sabers as well are very deadly opponent. Okay, thank you, I guess. Ouch. Oh, come on. Are they immune to the insta kills? Okay, no.
Nope, you're just unlucky.
So Chaz has become our official healer while we get to the top of the tower.
And much like every other RPG, some of the lost time save is also dependent on just how much you have to heal outside a battle. Healing once every two battles is a lot more time friendly than healing every battle. And for anyone new joining in near the end, this game does have a bug where the stats don't update themselves on a level up. So if you've gained 4 or 5 levels and you haven't, at least click on the state button and back out. HP and MP will get updated, but strength, speed, defense, none of that will get updated until you force the game to look at the information. So if you're familiar to the speedruns, every level or two, all the runners will always just do a quick state, even though they don't need to heal. Just because that little bit of extra defense and a little bit of extra speed does make the encounters go by a lot quicker. It's also, we just don't want to reset. This fight, pretty much once you got D-Ban up, unless he does his single target attack, which is pretty low odds, you're not really at risk for much of anything. If you get outsped first turn, which is a common theme with the bosses, some bad stuff can happen, but for the most part, is if you just keep up on the healing, you're not at any real risk of dying, and that's where also adding the guard shield to Rika, it pays off because it just makes D-Ban that much stronger.
Let's go with that.
We're choosing Nawat over Nafoy just because Nafoy won't deal damage, where Nawat is guaranteed damage.
Easy.
Good Devar's fight.
That went well. In fact, the opener against Ren was very lucky because if he ended up using his skill against another character, he would probably have been dead, and that would have taken a lot of time and risk to recover from that.
There's something worth noting after the bosses. If you're using a turbo controller especially, make sure you take a step. It doesn't matter which direction, but take a step before you heinous out. If you don't, a bug can happen where since you beat the boss, but it doesn't flag in memory that the boss is beaten. So you could beat both of these bosses and the story just won't progress if you ended up escaping too quickly. Which sucks because then you got to go back to the top, walk into the room, and then teleport out again. It's a glitch specifically associated with using turbo. I think it's just from opening the treasure chest so quickly.
Yep. We're going too quickly, and the way the game works, it's registering that you got the ring only if the message has been displayed fully. So that's a little quirk. I don't recall the word, but because of that, since turbo is so efficient at doing input, we're going faster than the game can register that we actually completed. Oh, that was a little mistake. Hence the problem. I did lose a very promising run because of that problem. That was so annoying. Let's go with that. Good call. Alright, so if the first boss was entirely physical, this one is entirely magic.
This one's a little more of an issue. Ren will take some pretty big damage from Tandles. Hewin will also hit the whole party pretty decently as well. Thankfully, he does do some single targets, and if they're on like Ren or Rika, you can kind of just let full go with the damage.
Come on, Ren. Thank you, buddy.
So you can see Rika takes 1 damage there, so Rika's gonna buff herself up, and then everyone's pretty much just gonna start going to town. This boss also has around 5,500 HP. Ideally, you just like to see him do Fillale, so you can dish out a lot of damage very quickly with it. Ewin is something you don't want to see, because that reduces 4 people attacking just down to 1. So at this point, we could have Ren use flares, but Rune and Chaz are a lot better fitted for damage. Ren's flare damage, if we would have got Ren a better gun, could possibly be comparable to Chaz or Rune. But he's still rocking the gun we got in the first area we recruited him.
Okay, fair. Ouch. Rune is pretty much the only one that is vulnerable to flyly spells. That gives us a fighting chance. Okay. You should die soon. There we go.
Alright, got the last rings. So, a lot of these rings are just good defensive increases. Ren's ring will lessen the damage he takes from lightning-based attacks. Chaz is a little bit of speed and attack. I think it's +5 to attack. It's pretty beefy bonus. So this is the cutscene you will not get if you ended up just escaping from the room too quick. So there's been a couple of us that have just walked into the room, ended up going to Desolus and been like, wait a second. So the reason we gave Chad 2 shields and the Algo ring is in the next segment, he's not really doing any attacking, and if he needs to, he can always use like Githu or Nathu for some extra shadow experience. So here we're just getting some backstory about Dark Forests, or Dark Fells is supposed to show up every 1,000 years. But with one of the planets being destroyed in Phantasy Star 2, he's come back even sooner because the field preventing him from awakening has been weakened. So now we've been deemed the Protectors. And then Chaz has a little bit of a midlife crisis. And says, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to stay home. We've lost too much. So Rune's like, hey, like maybe I can bring you somewhere that'll give you a little more insight and explain things a little better.
Now Chaz makes a very valid point. Basically what he's saying is, if we end up doing what the Great Light asks us to do, we're doing the same thing as Zio. And I don't want to do that, because Zio was doing what the Profound Darkness asked him to do. So that's why he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like Zio. And why we are here is that Rune actually can show something to Chaz, which will make him realize that he's not doing that only for the purpose of doing what the Great Light wants him to do. CDN, so that's another link with the previous Phantasy Star games. So as you may see, we are alone. That means we can still encounter enemies like that, and if we kill them, though, you will see something very interesting. Each got 1000 XP. So we're still into Ghost XP territory. Too many items, alright. So let's use...
So the sword we're picking up is the Asiladin, which is basically like the ultimate holy sword. It will replace whatever weapons you have in your slots. So if you just have both of your hands free, then we get a free sword, which is good because we don't want to lose the Plasm Field or we don't want to lose the guard shield, because
Nope.
both of them are insanely good pieces of defense. So here we're getting a little bit of a flashback from Phantasy Star 1 and Phantasy Star 2.
We also get this very important revelation in a few seconds. There you go. This is Alice. Yes. So that means Alice was a guardian and she knew what she was doing. She knew that she was training someone very promising. So that may explain why she was quite rough on Chaz. Oh, emergency. Looks like we'll have to do stuff.
So now we're going to go to Mies. We're going to sell, we're freeing up inventory space at this place. We're going to be stocking up on a couple of soul dues, which are basically the Phoenix Downs of this game. And then we're going to be buying as many star dues as we can for safety for the final boss. There's that ceramic mail we picked up 3 hours ago. Normally in an 80% run, you would pick up about 3 soul dues and about 7 star dues. Because of all the extra grinding we've done, we do have a very large surplus of money. And you can never have too many star dues, just because them being a free AoE heal.
Yeah, this one can go. Right. Boy, we'll get... This is probably the most important shop in the entire galaxy.
Ermigerd, Kira, Raja.
Yeah. So we'll be meeting with everybody that has helped us through the game, which is quite neat. Main problem with that is that the Motavian, although in levels they have cut back, in terms of strength and possibility, they are lacking. So we don't go toward them. You could always pick Han if you wanted. That would have been something, but usually you go with Kira. So equip her with that and that. And now my macro time.
So here we're kind of setting up macros for... Some of them's for the final boss fight, some of them's just for the walk to the final boss. Because we will be running into encounters we can't get away from. If this was like a donation type run, you could make an argument for like Raja or Grizz if you did a little bit of extra grinding. Grizz doesn't add too much. Raj is a squishy Namekian, but it does alleviate a lot of the issues for like Stardews, especially with Ataraxia and Miracle. You do lose out on a little bit of damage. Like, Kira is just that nice, well-rounded character where she's not really as fast anymore because she doesn't have the Phanta robe, but she's got really strong healing. She's got damage mitigation through Warla, which is defense up. And she's got good offensive spells, and her TP pool's very decent to set up for a prolonged fight.
If you enter mile here, everybody's dead. Yes. Wow, level 32. So once again, I would like to apologize for the bitrate. This place is pretty LSD style, if I may.
Yeah, this is more of an acid trip than it is a final dungeon.
Oh, totally. Alright. Mini worms. That's good. So yeah, this the walk to the last boss is very dangerous.
Pretty quick though, thankfully. It's only just 7 or 8 rooms.
Okay, fine.
It's kind of like the end of Gigas at Earthbound, where everything just goes to poop.
Yeah.
So you can run into some pretty nasty enemies. They can drop, I think, Grizz's final weapon, the Destroyer Axe.
Ah, classic. Yeah. Right, let's go with that. Oh, come on, Rika. Wow, that hurt.
Yeah, you can see these guys hit very hard. They don't give any money, but it's a good chunk of experience. Ideally, like, you would get a walk where you don't need, where you don't take any encounters, you just get preempts. Would save a little bit of menu time too.
Oh boy. Nice. Oh, come on, guys. At least somebody's awake. Ah, Rika, come on! This can become such a big problem fast. Got it.
Thankfully, the Asyladin's death rate proc, it feels pretty high. I don't know if it's like Guard Sword's 25%, the Asyladin's 50 or whatever. But it does feel like it has a very high chance to proc.
All right.
Final room before the dungeon. So now we're just going to get rid of the mob macros and fit them in for the actual boss macros. Pretty much every macro here will be used on the final boss at some point. Chaz is a little bit underleveled. You generally would like him to have 224 HP, just to help survive with the high rolls. But if you don't end up getting the high rolls, then the extra HP is not needed.
All right, we are set. Let's go. This is it. This is the moment you've been looking for. This is the final boss. So if you want to spam the chat with good luck, now is the time to do so.
So this final boss is divided into 3 phases. First phase will only do single target abilities.
Oh. What am I doing?
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was bad. My fault.
Yeah, Kira is down a couple of levels, which
Okay, so
could have helped her outspeed that, but it's also just very unlucky that the boss got first turn anyways.
So you will do. Told you here. I need you to use the power shield, and you will have to improvise a little bit because I basically blew my setup with the wrong macro as an opener. But this is fine. Recover. Voila, you do Saner. You do crosscut. Yeah, that will speed up a little bit the damage, which is what we need at that point. Yeah. All right,
You
boss.
generally don't want Rune to use any TP abilities, and you want to stay away from Chaz using crosscut and Rika using double slash. Because the more you spend on this first phase, the more you're taking away from the much needed damage from the later phases. So since we're all buffed up and kind of stabilized at this point, if this fight takes an extra turn, it's not the biggest of deals, just because it is single target damage. It's when we get into like phase 2 and phase 3. So this first phase has 5,000 HP. Well, technically it has 10,000, but once you've dealt 5,000 damage, it will trigger the second boss. There's a set of glitches you can do with the menu glitch. And you can have a level 30 Chaz with level 3 stats and the Shadow Blade. And with Nathu, you can deplete the boss's HP, and if you deal 10,000 damage to the first phase before X, phase 2 and phase 3 just don't happen, which is kind of interesting.
Alright, Flare, Godra, you do that. You will slash. So you want to ramp up a little bit the damage, since he now begins to use a lot more AoEs, which will do a good amount of damage. Distortion. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah, this boss has a lot of heavy hitting AoEs. It does have some single attacks, which obviously you'd like to see, just from all the damage mitigation.
Yay!
Ooh.
That was good. So I'm using this to once again speed up the process. We don't want to linger too long into this phase. Oh, sweet. That hurt. Nice.
Thanks, Chaz.
Yeah. We're not full hit points, so I cannot go full offense. This is
phase
fine.
3 is where your dreams come to die.
Yeah.
Phase 3 is 12,000 HP. It also has a numerous of really damaging abilities. One of them is Megid, which is an extremely high non-elemental damage. The other kind of really scary part is an ability called Canceling. Canceling will remove all active buffs, so Saner, Warla, and Barrier. So there is something called the Megid Cancel kill. So you get cancelled, and then if Profound Darkness 3 acts before you get Barrier up, Chaz, Rune, maybe Rika are all dead, just because they need that damage mitigation. Ren's got very tanky HP pool, so he'll live through it. And Megid is a 5/8 chance. So if you're looking at it statistically, you're going to see it more often than not.
Good 2 rounds there. Wow. Nice.
Very kind so far.
That many single attack, like the previous boss, as many single is always good news. Woohoo! Oh. I wanted to do the other macro, so that's on me.
Plinking.
Yeah. We'll call it that.
What's with the single target?
Okay. So we're out of... Going with Nawat. Nawat does slightly, just a little bit higher damage than the Foy. There we go, what we don't want to see. Okay, we're fine.
Marathon safety. So it's
yeah,
those kind of.
In my previous run, alas, it did not work. And I forgot to use power shield on that. So we'll have to do this manually.
Yeah, anytime you see canceling your butt, just you clench up. You could create diamond. So it also sucks because like you've gone through Dark Force 2, no problem. Dark Force 3, no problem. Right Crows, you've conquered. And then if you just get bad speed, there's nothing you can do about it. But we did get a lot of single target attacks, which did help bolster our damage early. Magic just sucks because instead of dealing 1,200-1,300 damage around, you get nerfed down to about 500-600.
Yes. Benny.
I think we're about 3/4 of the way through the fight from what it feels like with the damage rolls.
Nope. Nope. Come on. There we go. Yeah.
We do have a nice healthy supply of Stardews. Rika does have a good healthy supply of TP if we need it for G-Res.
Okay, good. Oh, what? Huh?
Making sure everyone is extra topped up.
Classic. Okay, so can we do? Yes. Okay, so that got scary. Second, cancel. Nice. All buffs are up. It will probably go with McGee. So oh yeah, we've been lucky. She had a bad turn order. Nope. Got right. Nope. There we go. We will air slash.
The extra 3 or 4 levels on Ren from all the marathon grinding is definitely on your side with this. There's still that chance where you're going to get outspeed, and that's just the game being the game.
Whoa, that was a high roll. This is fine. Stardew. Told you.
So if Rune goes down, you can make an argument for leaving him down for a round or so. Chaz with the Asilidin doing extra damage against evil enemies is just too good to pass up. Unfortunately, if you do Saner before Warla, you don't get the speed increase until the next turn, because as soon as you've initiated all your commands, that's when turn order is set. So it's not like you can really, unfortunately, cheese it.
Oh, bonus round. So for reference, yes, Chaz has lost Saner, but it's not too much of a problem. Ouch, that hurt. Die.
GG's.
So you see, even with the
Pretty tame
marathon
fight.
safety, there was a few times where it was very, very complicated.
Pretty clean run overall.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things you need to take into account is that I notified a lot of times that the estimate was not 330 but 340, well, most probably, so good on that. In theory, we are 3 minutes under estimate, which is pretty nice. Everything went smoothly. The only thing that was annoying was Dark Force 2 and Dark Force 3, who were pretty mean with many AoEs, but other than that, the rest of the run was pretty good. Satisfied. So we'll get a bit of closer with this. We'll see the credits where everybody says goodbye. The main reason is that once Ren will have brought all of their characters to their original planet, he will be back on Zealand to resume his task, which is to maintain the Algo solar system in shape. And what this means is that we lose all means of transportation between the other planets. So this is officially goodbye for the Desolisian and the Motavian. We'll be missing Rika somehow. Other than that, thank you very much, Dine, for your comment. You were on point, very relevant with what you said, and it was a pleasure running this with you behind me. I am obliged. Right. So it all depends on the mods out there. I would very much be happy with the state of how it is. We can wait a few minutes still to get to the ending rolling sequence, or I can also go depending on whatever Retro Gaming Live TV decides. We'll check about that in a few moments. All right. So once again, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure playing this. I hope that you had as much fun as I did, because I sure did. If you want to follow some retro RPG, I'm currently running Dragon Warrior 4. As for Dine, do you have any special thing on your plate lately?
Not really. Getting back into Chrono Trigger for a little bit, and hoping to get back to this game in a couple of months. I kind of miss being put in my place.
Cool. So thank you for being here. The next run will be very interesting because Populous is a very neat game, and I hope that I'll be able to see you soon, guys. Bye bye. Thank you for watching.
Stay tuned. Lots of great runs coming.